with me.
This is the President of the United States. Who is this? Is it you again?
Look behind you.
This is my private line. How did you get through?
They're everywhere. All the time. We see them every day. But you have to look behind you.
There is nothing behind me. How did you get this number?
The spaceman told me.
What spaceman?
It doesn't matter. They're telling you about monsters. Please, you must look behind you.
Young lady, there are no monsters in the Oval Office.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, the loudspeaker spoke up and said, the loudspeaker spoke up and said, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Check us out on TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStreamLive.com is the place to go if you want to listen to us online. All the radio stations that air our program online and everywhere else you can find on TalkStreamLive.com. Or you can call the number 701-801-3900. That's 701-801-3900. If you want to listen to the show after it's finished, then of course there's podcasts by phone with 5 shows all ready to be heard. If you're 5 behind or whatever, you can listen to them on the phone. 701-719-9949. Unlimited minutes is what you need on your phone. No data to use. It's a perfect way to listen to the show on the phone if you're driving or if you just happen to want to listen on phone. I've done that before. It's pretty cool, actually. Listen back to the show on the telephone at TalkStreamLive.com. All archives are on SoundCloud.com/Ground Zero Media, and they're free. You can check them out. It's SoundCloud.com/Ground Zero Media. I hope you all had a great weekend. I had a pretty good weekend myself. It's nice to be able to relax a bit. Saw a few movies over the weekend that were pretty cool. Actually, saw one movie actually. No, I saw a couple. I saw one on television too. But saw The Magnificent Seven. That was a great film. I liked it. Something about Westerns. It's like they say they're a dying breed, but no, I kind of like them. Tarantino seems to be doing good Westerns. When he did Django. And now The Magnificent Seven is another one with Denzel. So, I don't know. It's pretty fun. We had a great weekend this weekend doing all kinds of crazy things. I didn't have a chance to tell you, but a very good friend of mine, very good, dear friend of mine, and many of you know who he is. He's Dr. Burgess, Jonathan Burgess, who, ghost investigator, mad scientist, you name it, moved from the Northwest here. He moved to upstate New York about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. The thing is, it's all a blur because after my father's funeral, he left about the same time, and so I wasn't able to say goodbye to him the way I could. He came over, and he's a handyman as well, so he was helping my wife with a few things around the home. But he did move, and he told me that in his storage shed, he found an old box that belonged to me, and in it, he believed, were haunted artifacts that I should recover and remove from his shed because he didn't want me to lose them. And I kept the box in that old storage shed at his place because over the years I've picked up various artifacts that have been, well, they say they're haunted or they have something about them that, has a bit of an esoteric nature, perhaps a lot of scary stuff. Whether they be books, literature, whether it be a picture or a doll, some clown doll or figurine, they hold on to some active energy. And so I conveniently kept them out of sight, which of course means that they're out of mind, but then of course when they're in front of me, they're not out of mind anymore. So yeah, out of sight, out of mind for a while. And I forgot just how many things I had because when I unloaded the box, I had a lot of old books. Many compilation Famous Monsters of Filmland signed by Forrest J. Ackerman, which are really cool. A book of the dark arts, a book about witchcraft, a book about just a bunch of crazy stuff, comments on the Malleus Maleficarum, the Necronomicon. Gosh, I was just going down the list of things I have. A lot of things that energy has attached themselves to, I guess. And I guess many people, well, maybe you do know, I don't know, but I know a lot of people may or may not know that ghosts have attached themselves to objects. Spirits attach themselves to objects. Certain energies attach themselves to objects. Sometimes evil spirits often attach themselves to dolls, clowns, idol figurines, Ouija boards, you name it. When you have wearables like clothes and jewelry, when you have art like paintings and photographs, as well as household objects like wooden boxes, furniture, etc., 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 even musical instruments, if you have musical instruments, sometimes they're also popular places for the, I guess you could say, the paranormal or lost souls to kind of hang out. They hang out in these places. They hang out in your instruments. They hang out in your TV. Anything has the potential to be haunted, ladies and gentlemen. It's obvious. Because hauntings occur when a ghost or other supernatural being refuses to move, go away, refuses to move on to the next plane, I guess, after death. Instead of choosing to leave this planet and go into the spirit world, it chooses to dwell among the living. And sometimes it attaches itself to its favorite chair, rocking chair, favorite pillow. Gosh, so many stories about ghosts in bedrooms. And one story in particular, I was at a house in Utah. And it was actually a house where a group of witches lived. And I'm talking about Wiccans, the practicing Wiccan. And it was amazing as we went to this seance. I wish I could find a prayer. Maybe I can find the prayer that was given, but there was a prayer that was given at the seance that we had to try and figure out what was going on in this house. And the prayer was just, it was just gripping. So much force and so much power in this pagan prayer. And to open up the spirit, open up the, I guess you could call it the wormholes, or the open up the gates. Open up the gates to, allow these spirits to communicate. This was probably the most horrifying, one of the horrifying seances I ever attended, because it wasn't because they were witches or Wiccans. It was because of the fact that we were holding the seance to contact. The flames on the candles were erratic. They were acting crazy. Really creepy to see that, by the way. And not only that, but we found out that this room upstairs was haunted by a little girl. She was mentally retarded. And the little girl had a teddy bear that she wanted to, she actually embedded herself in for some reason. And it talked. It had a voice. It's one of those voice-activated type teddy bears. So whenever she wanted to get our attention, she'd have the teddy bear speak to us, which was really creepy. And but the teddy bear could only say so much, And it wasn't like it was taking over and saying anything coherent, just saying a bunch of things. And when it would turn on automatically, we were wondering what was going on with it. But after the seance, we found out that there was a polygamist man who lived in the home. And that he was abusing his daughter, molesting the retarded daughter, the mentally retarded daughter. And when that daughter told us in the seance exactly what was going on, he got angry. And believe it or not, and this is a true story. Now, I wish I could find that. Maybe I can find that you got to hear the prayer, because it's just creepy as heck. But the thing is that that ghost got so angry. And I don't know if the ghost did it. I don't know if it was some stroke of luck, some bad synchronicity. I don't know what it was. But a tree uprooted itself in the front yard of this house and fell on top of the room where that girl was haunting the bear. That's how intense sometimes these spirits can be. This is how intense they are, because they are troubled. They don't want to leave this earth, and they hover around rooms and houses and artifacts like teddy bears. So these are things that some people have. I mean, what? Sometimes you have jewelry that may be haunted. And so I was going through some of my artifacts, and I call it the devil's toy box, because it seemed like everything in there had some occult meaning to me. And I want to share some of that with you. In fact, I'm actually going to focus some of my Halloween shows on some of these artifacts, because a lot of them, at least 3 or 4 of them, are fascinating. They have stories behind them that I'm thinking a lot of people may share the same type of story, whether it be, first off, the haunted artifacts idea. I mean, I'm sure many of you have artifacts in your home that are haunted, or that you've come across, like a doll or a clown or a jack-in-the-box or something, paintings maybe, I don't know. So a number of things in your home that are haunted, or that are haunting, or that have spirits attached to them. It's called residual haunting. And some people, well, it happens. And a number of experiences in my life that have convinced me that there's something that attaches itself to some inanimate object. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. Back in 2003, I was doing a program, actually a pilot program, for the Sci-Fi Channel called The Unknown Zone. And what this was, it was supposed to come on after Dan Aykroyd's special on UFOs, and we had been pushing the idea of having the show, that we wanted to make it a really dark paranormal show, one where people would be running out of the room screaming if they would see what we were doing. And one of the things we did is we wanted to show a very active haunted house. And this was a very active and mean one, because it was odd that this house was actually haunted. The house was haunted. It was a witch's house. A group of witches lived there. And I just found this footage. It was supposed to be for the unknown zone. And in it, one of the Wiccan priests did a prayer. And I think this is a good way to start the show because this is something that I don't think anybody's ever really experienced, but it's an opening, literally an opening up all the gates so that we can have communication with the dead, communication with those on the other side. And what happened is we kind of angered this Mormon polygamist ghost that lived in this house that was molesting his retarded daughter, who actually had attached her spirit to a teddy bear. Listen to this opening ceremony segment in this Wiccan household. This is from 2003.
Apopatos Kageronios.
You eat.
As you can hear, this is a very strange prayer. It's strange only because we're not used to something like this, I believe. There are photographers and cameramen throughout the entire house watching this. And when it was going on, the flames on the candles were acting strangely.
Promo Tilatarkai Epissimo Jungis Epidexia Sinokis Epirestra Timenos Flegagar Perimu O Astarton Pente.
That's amazing stuff. That's now you know why. The real stuff. I mean, just taking stuff out of the box here. Words cannot describe this. I mean, this is these are things that you wouldn't hear on the radio. These are things that I have in my memories. Things that I have buried in boxes of old paranormal experiences, films, video, sound, all these things that have accumulated over the years. And people ask me, do you really believe this stuff? I say, I've experienced this stuff. This stuff is weird. This stuff is bizarre. This stuff is outrageous. And so tonight, I guess, as I share with you some of these stories, as I share with you a lot of these things, just digging stuff out of my old box. This is like, airing out my old paranormal laundry, I guess. You'll be hearing a lot of things and experiencing a lot of things over this holiday Halloween season because I have a lot of cool things to share with you. So that was just one of those things. The Wiccan House seance that we did back in 2003. Okay, so this is how old this stuff is. So, and I'm wondering tonight if you have anything that has attached itself to any inanimate object in your home, whether it's an artifact, jewelry, doll, anything like that. I'd like to hear from you because I think it would be amazing to hear some of the stories that people have about these artifacts because I know a lot of people do have them. And that's another thing too, is when I was going over my dad's stuff, after he passed away, I felt kind of weird because, you find old fishing caps and fishing reels and you're thinking, could dad be, attaching himself to that? I mean, it's just a memory of my father and, memories, ghosts, spirits, whatever. Do you have a haunted object in your home? Do you have a haunted object that you just got rid of, or do you know somebody who does? I'd like to hear your story tonight. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. More Ground Zero on the way. Don't go away. We'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis, and you are listening to Ground Zero. It's getting to be that time of year where everything's colder now. The wind and the rain are blowing. Things are getting darker now. And so we turn the tables a bit towards the supernatural, the occult, and, I was digging through some of my stuff that I have all piled up in a friend of mine's shed. He moved to New York. And I was going through some of those things over the weekend, and I realized I had a lot of strange things in my collection that I wanted to share for this Halloween, I guess. Off and on, you'll be hearing me telling stories about some of the things I've uncovered, some of the things I've, and I played you one of those things from 2003. This was a ritual that was performed at a seance. And it was done in a Wiccan household. And the ghost that was there was a violent ghost, pushed a tree onto the house on the bedroom where there was this bear that had the attachment of a girl, a retarded girl, that we found out was molested by her father. They were both dead, but of course the power and the fright, of course, was still there. And very terrifying. In fact, it was so terrifying that the Sci-Fi Channel decided that, they didn't think that the world was ready for this. But that was back in 2003. Now we have it all the time on television. And I guess it was just because of the fact that we were a little bit too dark for the I figured people needed to see the truth. And even if it is dark and scary, it's got to be there. I mean, it's nothing fake about the dark side. Nothing fake about the things that attach themselves to artifacts, strange artifacts. Let's go to William. We're going to go to William in Maine right now. Second, go to William. Hey, William, you're on Ground Zero. Go ahead. William, hi.
Hey, Clyde. What's going on?
I don't know. I went through some old artifacts over the weekend. Thought I would share some of the scary stuff that I have in my box. I call it the devil's toy box. So that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I was actually really enjoying what I was hearing, actually, because what you were hearing from that audio was actually a Thelemic ritual called the Star Ruby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all in Latin, of course, but it's used for clearing sacred space before a ritual is even, really begun. So it's Crowleyan, right?
It is, absolutely, yeah. So I heard Nuit. I heard him say Nuit, and I know that's a. What's that from? Is that from? Nuit is the goddess of the sky. She's one of the main deities in Thelema. Oh, what book is that from? What ritual? What book is that from? Can you tell me? Is it the? Oh, probably the Book of the Law. The first book of the Book of the Law. Book of Nuit. Yeah. Okay. Because I know a little bit. I'm not. I mean, I read, you know what I'm saying? And so I had a feeling that's what it was, but it was a very powerful ritual.
Oh, it was very well performed. I was quite impressed with his projection of the sacred words.
Really? He did a good job then. That's awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if this is a man to admire or not, but the ritual was, was well done.
Okay. Well, and that's the thing, is that it was so well done that we felt things move in the room. That's how well done it was. I mean, I'm sure, and we had a guy that tried calling the show. When he heard it, it freaked him out and he hung up. So it must have been that powerful. I don't know if anybody else felt it, but yeah, it can be a very dark and powerful feeling when you hear things like that. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, we did this stuff for the Sci-Fi Channel show called Unknown Zone. Never made it to the air because they said that we were too dark and weird. And I said, well, what do you want? You wanted to be like cartoonish? You wanted to be, well, we wanted to be a little bit more, fun.
Radio friendly.
And I said, TV friendly. And I said, well, when people go into haunted places and they're doing haunted investigations, what if a ghost shows up on camera? You going to censor that? And they said, well, it's just not what we're looking for. And then all of a sudden, we've got ghost hunters and ghost adventurers, and we got all these ghost shows now. They're all a dime a dozen. But the thing is, what we did was real. What we did was very real, and I've got some of the artifacts to prove it. So we're gonna talk about that tonight, I think. So there you go.
Excellent, very good.
All right, so I hope that starts people off on the right foot. William, I think.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me call in.
Yeah, thank you for calling. That's amazing. Let's go to John in Virginia. Hi, John. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. Nice talking with you again.
Hey, good to hear from you.
Of all places to have something weird happen at a yard sale, but my wife and a friend of hers were having a yard sale, and my wife took over a number of items, and they were placing them around the yards like you would in a yard sale. Uh-huh. And there was a right-sized vase on this table, along with some other items, and all of a sudden, my wife and this woman were looking at this vase, and it rose up at least 2 feet off the
table.
The thing that it was on, and it went about 2 feet off the ground and hit the grass. And my wife and this other woman, they looked under the table. There was nothing under it. There were no children playing or animals, anything like that. No wind blowing. It was very calm, and it just was no reason for it to come off 2 feet off the table and fall on the ground. Mm-hmm. And come to find out, the item had belonged to a woman that was having a yard sale, belonged to her mother-in-law, who just recently passed away. And it was the only thing in the sale that was, hers. And so my wife put it back on the table, and she was rather upset about it. And then the weird thing about it was, after the yard sale was over, it was gone. And my wife hadn't sold it, and the other woman that was selling it, she said she didn't remember selling anything like that. And just weird. And my wife to this day, this happened several years ago, but my wife to this day still thinks about it and can't understand what was going on.
Well, see, I have to worry, John, when I go out, you go to yard sales. Of course, yard sales are yard sales. It's just one person selling their junk to you. But when it comes to estate sales, you go to an estate sale, and what that is that someone has died, and so they're selling off all their material. And it makes me wonder about that, because I know that if you remember the story of the Dybbuk box, that situation happened because somebody sold a box that was that had a Dybbuk in it. And this has been a major story it made a major motion picture called The Possession, and then from there, it's gone on to being on several shows. Zach Bagans and several others have talked about the Dybbuk box because it was sold at an estate sale. So someone inherited a box that was haunted. And I think people need to be careful when they go to estate sales, because you never know what spirits can attach themselves to estate sales and what artifacts you're buying at an estate sale.
Yeah, well, it makes more sense in a yard sale, but nevertheless, it happened, and she was very, shook up about it. And to this day, they can't figure out why it would move up off the table and fall. And then after that, no one ever known to selling it, but yet it was gone when the sale was over.
Wow.
So we don't know what happened. Somebody could have stolen it. I don't know. But the fact that it rose up off this table was very, shattering to my wife.
Literally.
Yeah.
literally. Hey, John, it's sure good to hear from you again. Thank you for calling the program today. You take care.
Okay, buddy. Nice talking.
Nice
Bye-bye.
talking to you. Let's go to Noah in Washington. Hi, Noah. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. Good evening.
Hey, what's up?
So, my buddy, a good friend of mine, gave me a John Deere clock.
Yes.
And he told me, he's like, yeah, it's really cool. My grandfather gave it to me, and I can't stand the sound of the tractor every time I walk into the garage. So I hung it up in my garage, and I've been working on my great-grandfather's tractor that I inherited from him. And I needed a clock, so I put it up, and then I noticed that every time I walk in the garage, it makes a tractor noise, and it's always on the hour. And I never thought too much of it because I go in and out of the garage, throughout the evening when I get home from work.
Right.
But it's gotten to the point now where I'll hear it even when it's not on the hour. And I'll look up at it, and it'll be either 10 after or some other random time. But I just thought it was really strange. And I've never had any experiences like that with any other thing or situation.
Are you saying you're having an audio hallucination of this tractor sound?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not a hallucination. I mean, you're really hearing the tractor, but it's coming on, or you're hearing it when you're not supposed to hear it, right?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So are you going to get rid of it?
It's kind of strange.
Are you going to get rid of it, or what?
I don't think so. No. I'm not creeped out by it or anything like that.
It just annoys you. You got this earwig. You got this earwig in your ear that keeps bothering you from this tractor clock, right?
Yeah. It's very strange. I like the sound of a running motor, but yeah, it's kind of gotten to the point where it's like, I think I'm hearing it, and I'll look up at the clock to see what time it is, and yeah, it's very strange. But I just wanted to share that with you.
That's awesome. That's got to be the best story I've heard in a long time, Noah. I thank you for the call. Oh gosh, it's like this earwig tractor sound. It'd be like having a bad song in your ear. That's the thing clocks do. They're the ones that get into your ears sometimes. I mean, that's another thing too. My dad's clock, after he passed away, he had this clock that, it was a chiming clock. It was a mantle clock, and they gave it to him when he retired. Well, it's funny, after my father died, my sister told me, she said, the clock has been chiming at the wrong times. And so, yeah, sure enough, I mean, the clock would chime, in times it wasn't supposed to chime in. And we'd look at the clock and it'd say it's 11 o'clock when in reality it's 10:30, and it was just doing all these weird chime sounds. So we rewound it and redid it and reset it, and I guess now it's working fine. But then again, what if my dad was just playing with the clock? What if that was him? Because they never had a problem with the clock, ever, until after he died. So my sister had to rewind it, reset it, and it started playing right, I guess. Chiming the right chimes. Things are weird, man, I'll tell you. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Haunted artifacts, going through the Devil's Toy Box. I have the Devil's Toy Box, a lot of crazy things in my box. What do you have that's haunted in your home? We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. Digging through my old box of scary things. Things that are, I guess you could call them the needful things. The darker things buried somewhere in a shed that my friend, he just moved upstate New York, so I had to take it out, but Janine and I were going through some of the stuff. And I had to package it. Some of it I brought in tonight because I wanted Ron, my producer, to look over some of the things. And believe me, it's quite interesting what we've dug up and what we may feature in the next few weeks on the program. Some of the scary stuff I have buried away that I haven't really delved into since, many years. Like I said, the last one was 2003. That ceremony recording. It was 2003. Let's go to Clint in Tennessee. Hi, Clint. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, how's it going, Clyde?
Going well, man.
Good. I had an old Bible once. And it necessarily wasn't a bad thing, the way things went with it. It was kind of a good thing. The very best story I can tell you is the first one I recall from it. I was a newlywed with my wife. And about 6 months into a marriage, we had an apartment. She had lost her grandmother and was very upset one night. There was a blue light that came down the hallway into our bedroom. And after that happened, of course, she was fine. But when it did happen, it scared the crap out of me. I thought that there was somebody coming in the house or in the apartment. But there's no way that a light could have come down the hallway because there was no windows for a light to shine. And the back of the apartments was woods where there was no traffic. So that was one of the first experiences.
So you had a blue light come from the Bible that you had at the end of the hallway?
Yes, down the hallway, into the bedroom.
Okay.
After that happened, she was fine, felt at peace. There was nothing else about it. She was good.
Is there anything else that Bible did besides shine a blue light, make a person feel peaceful?
Yeah, there was another time when a friend of mine lost his mother, and because I used to keep it with me a lot, I picked it up in an antique store and just held on to it for a long time. I used to carry it around with me because it was very interesting. But there was another time when a friend of mine lost his mother, and I had it with me, and the same kind of thing happened to him. It just wasn't a blue light. He just kind of got a premonition of a dream, and he woke up and he was like, my mom's okay. It was just those kind of things that are weird. It kind of sticks with stuff.
So it's a Bible that gives people revelation and peace. It kind of has this supernatural aspect to it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Wow, it's amazing. That's an amazing story. Is it faith promoting for you, Clint? Is it faith promoting for you, or does it raise your spirits up to think that perhaps does it give you a feeling of good faith?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I definitely believe there is an afterlife, and we are totally in God's hands all the time.
Well, I must confess to you tonight, Clint, that it's funny you should talk about your paranormal Bible you've had for 30 years that brings peace. I've got something that I want to share with everybody in the next hour. It's a religious book, too, but it has a very, very scary history, and it was written by a Baptist preacher back in 1918, and I've got it in my office tonight. It's a book. It's hardbound. The binding's coming apart, but that's because the book's nearly 100 years old. But it's really interesting what's in that book, and I'm going to share it with everybody tonight because sometimes, Clint, while the Bible is the Word, sometimes the words of the preachers sound a little scary, and sometimes they have heritages and they have backgrounds that may not be all that great. So you hang on to that Bible, Clint. Hang on to it. Because if it's giving you peace, then fine. But what I'm about to share with everybody is something I dug out of my toy box, and it's haunted. I know it is. And it has a story behind it, and I want to share it with you. Coming up next hour, I'd like to hear some of your stories, too. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. More Ground Zero to come. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Many people may or may not know that ghosts have attached themselves to objects. Sometimes evil spirits even attach themselves to dolls, clowns, idol figurines, Ouija boards. We know this. The reason why I bring this up is because yesterday I went through some of my artifacts in my little box. See, a friend of mine Dr. Jonathan Burgess has moved to New York, and I had some of my material in his shed. And I had to move it before he left because otherwise I'd lose it all. And he says, there are a lot of books that you can read, Clyde. You know, things about vampires and witches and dark arts and all this. And so I went through my artifacts. I found an old Ouija board, which was used during a seance that accidentally conjured a demon. We were doing a seance at a place called the Rose and the Raindrop, and we conjured a demon called Abisuth. It's the same demon, by the way, that was featured in the movie The Possessed, or The Possession, which of course was about the Dybbuk box. Found a DVD that when played in a computer shows proof of a dark entity that an old man claimed was an escaped jinn, something that he had in a bottle that he found in a graveyard. We'll probably share that with you later on. An old book about the dark arts. And a nearly 100-year-old book called The Mark of the Beast by Sidney Watson. Now this book, I have a picture of it on my website. We took a picture of it. And the Mark of the Beast book, it's pretty beat up. And it's still its original form. And when I found these artifacts, I started to feel a little apprehensive because they most certainly have a history. And what I know about them makes me feel cold to this day, especially this book, The Mark of the Beast. Haunted objects and possessions have been depicted in films as being sentinels to ward off evil encounters. You heard about the guy with the last hour, Chris. He had the Bible that was a supernatural Bible that warded off evil. But then, of course, there are artifacts that attract chaotic activities that many would interpret as evil or from the devil. Now, if you've ever been to an antique shop or have an old artifact of the past, then you know that at times you may feel as if spirits have surrounded it or that its presence alone gives off some evil vibration. Some people believe that their antique might even make them feel cold or anxious, or that the item gives them dreams or images of times past, or others claim to have heard voices from the piece, or that the object gives off a particular smell, or that the item moves on its own. There are a lot of experts that agree that these hauntings are real. They're called residual hauntings. But they disagree on where the hauntings come from. And when dealing with these haunted objects, it appears that the haunting or the spiritual attachment are really more residual, and what you are feeling or sensing is like a recording that continues in a loop that's lost somewhere in time. We didn't go into Mobius strip loops or anything when we were with Marshall Barnes. We were talking about, time loops and residual wormholes. Well, it's obvious that residual wormholes exist. It's obvious that they can be created simply. We don't need particle accelerators to make them happen. You can use all kinds of things to create wormholes, including using magnetic energies and creating these type of wormholes using occult practices and ritual. And I talked with him about Jack Parsons. I talked with him about L. Ron Hubbard and their experiment. I talked about Aleister Crowley and his experiment. In the last hour, we played a Crowleyan type of ritual that was used to open up wormholes. This was from 2003. It was a recording from 2003 of a seance I was in. And it most certainly was a powerful, a powerful chant, powerful ritual. But many of you know that we've, on this program, we've done experiments with dolls. And dolls, by their nature, are really creepy. In fact, we had a doll called the Little Dutch Creep. He was given to me at a party. It was a Krampus party. And I was told that I needed to hang on to him because he was a doll with the ability to move his lips like he's speaking to you. And it's true. We had him on camera. We also have the demon doll Nickel that was bought by Larry Overman, who was with the Ghost Mind people. And he brought that in because they were saying that this doll, which we called Nickel or Nicky, kind of an evil name, would come to find out he was actually Lucifer, what was that? Yoakum, Pappy Yoakum, Lucifer Yoakum. And we had no idea that the doll's name was Lucifer originally, so we called him Nicky. But he looked like a devil doll, a demon doll, and this doll moved. It was creepy how it would move, and it would move its head, and it would look into the camera. And many are familiar with the doll Annabelle from the movie The Conjuring. This evil doll is based on a real doll, which is a Raggedy Ann doll, that's encased in glass at Ed and Lorraine Warren's Spooky Museum of Trophies and Artifacts. And I had an opportunity to hold the doll, the Annabelle doll, the prop. It was, for some reason, it was brought in especially for me to hold. There was a company, I guess the company that was producing The Conjuring, showed up and they said, "Hey, we're in town. We have the doll. We thought we'd stop by and say hi to Clyde." They handed me this scary doll. And I wanted to know the history of Annabelle the doll. And there was a woman named Donna who got Annabelle from her mother in 1970, and Mom bought the used doll at a hobby store. Donna was a college student at the time and living with a roommate named Angie. And at first, neither thought the doll was anything special, didn't think anything of it. But over the time, they noticed that Annabelle seemed to move on her own. And at first, it was really subtle, just changes in position, kind of things that, you could write off as being just the doll's jostled. You're imagining things, right? But then they noticed that the movement of this doll increased. And within a few weeks, it seemed to become fully mobile. In other words, it was moving a lot more. The girls would leave the apartment with Annabelle on Donna's bed, return home to find it moved over to the couch. And their friend Lou hated the doll, and he thought there was something deeply wrong with it, something evil. But the girls were, of course, they didn't believe in all that. They didn't believe in evil dolls or anything. They just thought it was crazy. And they thought that everything had a logical explanation, and so they reasoned and said, well, it's just, we lose track of the doll. But Annabelle, well, her actions got even weirder. Donna began to find pieces of parchment paper in the house with messages written on it like, help us. You hear the words, see the words, help us on parchment paper. They would also say, help Lou. And just to make the whole thing that much creepier, nobody in the house had parchment paper. Where the hell was this parchment paper coming from? Well, the escalation continued, and one night Donna returned home to find Annabelle in her bed with blood on her hands. It was, she said it looked like blood. It was some sort of red liquid. It seemed to be coming from the doll itself, and that was enough. Donna finally agreed to bring in someone who could give her information about the doll, a medium. And so this person was a sensitive who could do psychometry, was able to sit with the doll, and told the girls that long before their apartment complex had been built there, actually there was this field, the property, of course, without the apartment there. A 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins was found dead in that field, and her spirit remained. And when the doll came into the house, the girl's spirit latched onto it. She found Donna and Angie to be trustworthy, so she just wanted to stay with them. She wanted to be safe with them. Well, these girls, Donna and Angie, being the nurturing types they were both nursing students, and Donna and Angie agreed to let Annabelle stay with them, and that's when all hell broke loose. Lou started to have bad dreams where Annabelle was in his bed, climbing up his leg, and he was laying there frozen, sliding up his chest onto his neck and closing her stuffed hands around his throat. He would wake up terrified, head pounding, like all blood had been cut off to his brain. He was freaking out. He was worried about the girls. A few days later, he and Angie were hanging out, planning a road trip, when they heard someone moving around in Donna's room. They froze, and they thought it was a break-in. Well, that's the thing. There was no intruder in the apartment. Lou crept over the door, listening to rustling there in the room. He threw open the door, and everything was it should be, except Annabelle was off the bed and sitting in a corner. As he approached the doll, Lou was consumed with that feeling again, that burning on the back of the neck. It indicates someone was staring at you. And he then spun around. Nobody was there. The room was empty. And then sudden pain in his chest. He looked at his shirt and saw a series of raking claw marks through the ditches of his flesh. It was burning. He knew it was Annabelle. The weird claw marks began healing almost immediately. They were totally gone in 2 days. Like no wounds any of them had left before. They knew they needed more help, and then they turned to an Episcopalian priest, who then called Ed and Lorraine Warren. Of course, the movie The Conjuring is based on this. A priest performed an exorcism on the apartment, and the Warrens took possession of the doll. It's now locked up in their little museum of artifacts, saying no one should open it. I know we assign all sorts of eeriness to dolls because they look like miniature people. Well, apart from the various dolls and other haunted artifacts, I'm drawn back to what I have, and I'm thinking about sharing a number of these artifacts with you this Halloween, only because they mean something to me, but they may also surprise you, and you may have some artifacts you want to talk about. Coming up, I'm going to share you the first artifact in my box, and it's a book that I inherited on a weird date. June 6th, 2006. 666. And I'll tell you more about this book coming up on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. So the first artifact I wish to share with you is a book that I inherited on a weird date. Now, I know this sounds like something out of a comic book. It sounds made up, but it's not made up. On June 6, 2006, or digitally 666, I held a Ground Zero lounge at a bar called Dante's Inferno. There was a colleague of mine named Rick Emerson who did an event on 666 called Horns Across the Hawthorne, where he had a group of individuals go across the Hawthorne Bridge here in Portland and do the devil horns exactly at 6 o'clock, 6 in the evening on 666. Afterward, everyone was supposed to go to the Ground Zero lounge at a bar called Dante's Inferno. And that was an amazing event because it was just everybody was out there doing the devil horns and being all devilish and crazy. But here I was on 666 ready to do a speaking engagement at Dante's. That's actually a bar here in Portland, Dante's Inferno. Well, this old man came to me before I was to speak. His face was careworn and his voice was trembling, and he said, I have this book that I must give you before I die. And I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. He was wearing this hat with feathers, and he had these cold eyes look through me, and he explained that a woman gave it to him, this book, and he had to give it to me, and that I had to give him $1 for it. So I paid him $1 for it. I had no idea what the book was. It was wrapped in silk. Sort of a beat up silk linen or whatever it was. It was wrapped in. And it had a bookmark in it. What the bookmark was a crow's feather. And I thought, what is the harm in receiving a book from an old transient? So I handed him $1 bill. And he then left the bar as mysteriously as he came in. And I looked at the book, and the title was called The Mark of the Beast. And inscribed on the cover was an X, a serpent, and what appeared to be an S. And I later learned that the symbols can be traced to the Codex Vaticanus and the year 350 AD, and they were the ancient glyphs of the Antichrist. The book was published in 1918 by Sidney Watson, a Dominionist author, preacher, who wrote the book in order to frighten the world into converting to Christianity. He was basically writing as a religious tract about the second coming. However, it's a work that is loaded with occult incantations that when read can send chills down the spine of the reader. And I'm sure in 1918 the book was seen as a fiction worthy of the rapture faithful, but reading passages about it predicted some leader named Apollyon, which I think is Apollyon. And I had to wonder why this book was even published. I mean, was it to convert people? Was it a curse book? I mean, look, there's so many weird incantations from this book that I want to read to you. But what's important here is, this book, certainly, it has this preface. It says this, it says in the preface, the book would bring the devil in to awaken the flock of the coming of the Antichrist. The book would bring the devil in to awaken the flock to the coming of the Antichrist. It says, the desire of the author of The Mark of the Beast has been to further this, to startle and awaken careless, ill-taught professing Christians by giving some faint view of the fate of those professors who will be left behind to go through the horrors of the tribulation. Now, I had a psychic tell me, she used psychometry, that the book was associated with a murder. Now, either it was from the printing press or, as another psychic told me, there were two psychics that said that this book was associated with a murder. One was that the murder took place during the printing of the book, and the other was that the book was taken from the hands of a dead street preacher who was stabbed to death by a homeless vagrant. She said that she could hear the voice of the murderer say the words, "Mene, mene, tekel upharsin." Mene, mene, tekel upharsin, or upharsin, which, of course, for those who read the Bible, in the book of Daniel, there are these strange Aramaic words that were written by this ghostly hand on the wall of the temple of Belshazzar. It's mene, mene, tekel upharsin. Mene, mene, tekel upharsin. And from the scripture in Daniel, it says, then was the part of the hand sent from him, and his writing was written, and this is the writing, and it was mene, mene, tekel upharsin. And this is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and are found wanting. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin, predicting the doom of the unrighteous king and his dynasty. The ruler had been judged by God and was found to be insufficient to the task of leading his people. His kingdom had divided and fragmented and became riotous and chaotic. Now, I find this rather interesting because they call Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin the writing on the wall, meaning that we need to see the writing on the wall in order to understand that the kingdoms are divided, the weight in the balances, we are found wanting, and I thought it was very appropriate that I would tell you this story about the book, because just the idea of a street preacher being killed and having his hands on the book and having the murderer say to him after he kills him, Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin, is really creepy, because it's an Aramaic statement about the divided kingdoms and the leader of the divided kingdoms. So there you go. The evidence is weighing heavily towards a revealing of occult practices of the power elite. It's all about spiritual warfare. And it's important to know that we all have the power to use whatever ammunition necessary to fight this. But then again, a lot of people don't want to learn what is hidden, and yet they are afraid that they'll be tainted by the prospect of being involuntarily trapped into something occult-like. But we have to uncover these things. We have to reveal them so that we can understand the movements of those who control us, because they're the ones that are dividing the kingdom. So as I was looking at this book and remembering the story of Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin from the book of Daniel and the temple of Belshazzar, and the mysterious hand that wrote that word, Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin, and how it has a lot of meaning today. The writing is on the wall. The obviousness is there. And to think that book, again, has come up, and it's called The Mark of the Beast. It's by Sidney Watson. It was written in 1918. And the book, if you take a look at it on my website, it's torn and a little beat up, but the front page actually has blood stains on it, which I find little blood stains, little blood trickles, not anything dramatic. I mean, the blood got on the book, of course, but that's about all we got here. But there we go. It's this scary book that I was given, and I'll give you some passages from it coming up. This book I was given back on June 6, 2006, during a speech at Dante's Inferno, 666, The Mark of the Beast, a frightening book that's in my storage they just took out, and I had a picture taken up today to put on the website. So there you go. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. Tonight, unloading the Devil's Toy Box. Talk about the book, The Mark of the Beast, from 1918, a book that I have in my possession. It was given to me on June 6, 2006, during a speech I made at Dante's Inferno. It's during a promotion that a friend of mine, a colleague, did called Horns Across the Hawthorne, where they all did devil horns at 6 p.m. on 666. And they all came to Dante's Inferno to hear me speak, and I was presented a book called The Mark of the Beast. It was a religious tract Baptist preacher that wrote it. It was like what Tim LaHaye made, like the Left Behind series. This was back in 1918. But the frightening thing about this book is that it gave me the creeps. It had a crow's feather in it as a bookmark. It's wrapped in some pretty bad silk. And the man who gave it to me was this old man and said he had to sell it to me for $1, which made me feel a little uncomfortable. But, reading through it, it's all about the Antichrist. It's all about an emperor named Apollyon, which is like Apollyon. And I had to wonder why this book was even published. I mean, was it to convert? Was it to curse? There's actually a chapter called To the World, the Flesh, and the Devil. And I want to read, this is a religious book, okay? This is allegedly a religious book that was, according to a psychic, in the hands of a preacher. And there were two psychics that commented on this. One with psychometry said that someone had died after the publishing, during the printing press. Another was a preacher that had died, was killed by a homeless person, a street preacher. He got blood on the page, and if you look at the Facebook page, we show a little bit of a trickle of blood or a little spot of blood on the page. He bled on the page, and of course, the woman said that when he was killed, the person who killed him said, "Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin," which is from the book of Daniel, which the writing on the wall, the whole idea of the temple of Beelzebub, and this is Marduk, of course, they worshipped at that time. But here is a few passages from the book that I wanted to read to you, and just to tell you, for a religious book, this sure is some pretty scary stuff. Here's the first quote. St. Anthony sat on a lowly stool, a large black book he held in his hand. Never his eyes from the page he took, with steadfast soul the page he scanned. The devil was in the best humor that day, that ever his highness was known to be in. That's why he sent out his imps to play with sulfur and tar and pitch and resin. They came to the saint in a motley crew, twisted and twirled themselves about, imps of every shape and hue, a devilish, strange, and rum-looking rout. Yet the good St. Anthony kept his eyes so firmly fixed upon his book, shouts nor laughter, sighs nor cries, never could win away his look. A thing with horny eyes was there, with horny eyes just like the dead, while fish bones grew instead of hair upon his bald and skinless head. Last came an imp, how unlike the rest, a lovely-looking female form, and while with a whisper his cheek she pressed, her lips felt downy, soft, and warm. As over his shoulder she bent, the light of her brilliant eyes upon his page soon filled his soul with mild delight, and the good old chap forgot his age. And the good St. Anthony boggled his eyes so quickly o'er his black book. Ho-ho, at the corners they 'gan to rise, and he couldn't choose but to have a look. There are many devils that walk this world, devils so meager and devils so stout, devils that go with their tails uncurled, devils with horns and devils without. Serious devils, laughing devils, devils black and devils white, devils uncouth and devils polite, devils for churches, devils for revels, devils with feathers, devils with scales, devils with blue and warty skins, devils with the claws like iron nails, devils with fishes, gills and fins, devils foolish, devils wise, devils great and devils small. But a laughing woman with two bright eyes proves to be the worst devil of them all. That's from the book. And it was sort of, it's very, it was written in very bold type about this emperor named Apollyon, who is the Antichrist that's supposed to come into this world after the rapture. But of course, the part that really gets me is when I was told that a preacher, that this was taken from his cold hands, according to a psychic, a dead preacher, blood on his hands, and that the person who killed him said mene, mene, tekel, upharsin, which of course is the interpretation of the numbered kingdom and the division and the leader that has divided the kingdom and how the kingdom will fall. Goth had numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin predicted the doom of their unrighteous king. The dynasty, the ruler had been judged by God and was found to be insufficient to the task of leading his people. His kingdom had divided and fragmented and become riotous and chaotic. It's so amazing the way this seems so familiar. I mean, the Belshazzar, the example of Belshazzar, I think I said Belshazzar, it's Belshazzar. It seems like it's talking about America. I mean, the evidence is weighing heavily towards a revealing of some occult practices or some sort of ritualism that's going on with the power elite. I mean, we're in the middle of spiritual warfare. There's no doubt in my mind. It's important to know that you have the power to use whatever ammunition you have in your arsenal to beat whatever this black or dark sickness is that's taking over. I mean, you got to learn, we got to learn what's hidden. We got to learn what's there. I mean, we were right at a time where it's necessary to reveal what is hidden. I mean, the evidence is overwhelming that we're living in what could be considered an apocalypse. So, I mean, this book was made in 1918, and you look at opinion, you look at evidence, and once you have opinion about something, you try to dig up as much evidence as you can to try and prove that opinion. But if you can't find enough evidence to prove your opinion, then you abandon it, of course. Or you can keep believing out of blind faith that something's about to go down. But this book, I think, means a lot to me right now because of what I was told its heritage is. It's very dark, and I think it's weird that it was given to me on 666, especially what is called the Mark of the Beast, with the markings of the Vatican, 350 AD. Just amazing what you can get or what you're handed and what you've hung on to for the longest time. So, anyway, we're going to go to the calls right now. 888-673-3700. Let's go to Denny in Michigan. Hi, Denny. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, how you doing, Clyde?
Doing great, man.
I called you one time before. I don't even remember what it was about, but I thought I'd call you this time and let you know I had bought an old cabin, an old 1860 log cabin, and it was on 5 acres, and the Indians used to be here. And I have found an old pistol that was military, and it's one of the First Colt, and I found a couple other things, and then I started finding stones, and I found all kinds of stones that were chipped, carved, and all different, like Indian chiefs' heads and different forms of just all kinds of like spirits that the Indians had. And I've gone in and grabbed just a handful of dirt and picked it up and had 5 or 6 of them in one clump, which was kind of like what they would carry in their medicine bags. And then I picked up a white stone one day because somebody had told me that they used just a white clay that they put together, and they would carve a lot of times from that. So I picked it up, and for no reason, still don't know why, I pulled my phone out and I took a picture of this white stone. And it's about it's bigger than a boulder. It's probably a boulder size. And the camera went nuts. It flashed probably at least 12 times. And then when it quit, I kind of stood there and looked at the stone and kind of looked at the camera, and I really didn't know which one I wanted to lay down and back off from first. But I decided I'd look and see what the camera had on it, and there was a picture of a black man on there, and he looked like he was as spooked as I was. He had the biggest eyes, and he looked like, oh my God, why did you pull me out of this rock? Put me back in there where you found me. And then there's a little guy off in the distance behind him, laying down behind some kind of I don't know what it is, some kind of wood or metal or something. And he's laying on his back and peeking up from just off the ground, just enough to see over whatever it is he's looking over. And he wasn't about to get up and look around to see where he was. But the railroad had gone through up here in the 1800s. And I can only imagine how many different nationalities were up here, because I found all different stones from China and Japan and I don't know, just all different types of carvings from all around. And I don't know, it just spooked the hell out of me. I'd never seen a plain white stone with a spirit in it. Right. And that's the only thing that I could imagine that it had in it was a spirit that had been working on the railroad, and somebody must have put him in that stone to have pissed him off somehow, and they put him in there.
Well, that kind of sounds like the djinn stories where, sometimes they trap spirits in lamps or bottles, or they do so in smoke and water. And that's another thing. I've got that also in my artifacts. There was a spirit that was kept in a bottle, and then eventually it wound up on video. It was caught on camera, and I'm going to be sharing that with the audience too coming up pretty soon. So, yeah, a lot of cool things. If you dig hard enough and look, sometimes you have a lot of haunted artifacts in your home, or somebody has a haunted something, I'm sure. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. If you have something haunted in your home, or if you have something that a spirit is attached to it, I'd love to hear from you tonight, because that's some of the things I think I have. And I don't know whether I should sell them or hang on to them, but they certainly are interesting artifacts. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
Going out to Texas now. I'm going to speak with Keith. Hi, Keith. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
In the 80s, I worked in a building in Corpus Christi that was built in 1939 by the Navy Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
To hold personnel under the size of 5'5". The United States shipped the Card, an aircraft carrier, and a destroyer caught the U-505 on the surface, captured their crew, and took them to an undesignated location. That undesignated location was a prison built for small people in Corpus Christi, Texas, known as Building 251. After all the events occurred, the U-boat commander found out that his officers had told every secret that there was to tell, and everybody was kept in individual compartments, single cells, that were made for 5 people 5'5" or shorter. And on March the 27th, before he came out of his cell, somehow had sequestered a straight edge or a straight razor and had walked under a clock and cut his own throat. March the 27th of 1983, he came out at 0 midnight +1 and cut his throat under the clock. Differential being is the guard had the presence of mind to prove not a new, and they got him interrogating the prisoner, and when the guy, poltergeist, cut his throat, everybody in the prison woke up, including everybody that was asleep in the guard staff.
Mm-hmm.
First guy in swears he saw blood coming down the wall.
Right.
Cell number 12 in that building is associated. That is where that gentleman was kept, and nobody can stay in there longer than 3 minutes. If they accidentally get put in there or get stuck in there, they get seriously injured by this poltergeist.
Wow.
And the other one is, I have a house in the far side of Houston, and there's an entity in the mirror that loves scaring the snot out of kids. It won't show up when there's an adult in the room. So 2 adults were assigned to get the mirror and put it in private storage on the other side of town. There have been visitations in the house by friendly spirits protecting the kids from other spirits. Apparently somebody in the household invited somebody in exchange for their wife's life into the house, and it took up residence and figured kids are fair game.
Wow, that's
and the last little bit was I was in Edwardsport, Indiana. My father had a stroke after surgery. My job was to go around to all the watch stations and all the duty crews and tell them to change the radio because cell phone lines are going to be cut at midnight. I got a radio call to come immediately to the power control room. I got up there. He goes, "There's a phone call for you." I picked it up and was talking to my dad's neighbor. She was telling me that he had passed away. Out of the corner, I could hear a voice saying, "Who does he think he's talking to?" The guy goes, "Well, 4 minutes ago I answered the phone, and he's talking to his dad's neighbor." She goes, "He can't be. The phone lines have been cut for 25 minutes. She spent 2 days looking. When I got back from my dad's funeral, they told me the whole story. She never found the line that she missed. Conclusion, it was a call we were supposed to get."
You have some amazing stories, Keith. I'm like glued to what you're saying. This spirit, though, in the mirror, what did it look like? Quickly, we're out of time, but tell me, what did it look like?
A black entity with evil-looking eyes, and that's all the kids could say.
Omo Negro. It's Omo Negro. Keith, thank you. The appearance of Omo Negro. The phantom child chaser. Appears in a lot of children's dreams. From Slender Man on down, there's these dark entities that can appear. What about you? Do you have any artifact in your home that's haunted? Maybe spirits attached to it? A lot of people calling in tonight to give their story. We'd like to hear yours. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Some amazing stories tonight. I'd like to hear you talk about your haunted artifacts. I just dug up a few of mine. Pretty amazing stuff. Don't go away. We'll be right back. I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Over the weekend, I was going through some boxes of mine and finding some old artifacts that I have saved because I believe there's something attached to them, or maybe they're haunted, or they may have something of great importance that I saved. I had a friend of mine who was moving out of town, and he says, "Hey, pick up your box of stuff because they're going to get lost." And there's some pretty interesting books. I mean, I've got books of Forrest J. Ackerman, Famous Monsters of Filmland, a few tapes of seances I've been to, recordings going all the way back to 2003. Other things that I think are fascinating that I've kept all these years. And it's funny because when you go back and you look at those things, that's exactly what ghosts are. Really. I mean, look, when you're looking at the paranormal, there can be spirits that stir like echoes, and they move along this Mobius twist. And we didn't really get into Mobius strips when Marshall Barnes was on the program, but of course, the idea that these micro wormholes may exist, and that every once in a while something crosses over, whether it be something from the spirit world or something else. This is all about some quantum entanglement in the middle of the haunted area we call the ether. There are two-dimensional sides. However, one is perceived by the investigator as the haunted side, or the one that appears from nowhere. In this Mobius twist, the two sides are converging, which reduces the exclusivity of both, therefore creating an effect of mirroring the past and the present. In the moment the Mobius twist converges, there is a point where the investigator of ghosts can call out and say, "Are you there?" And so, theoretically, the ghost at the time sees the investigator in the future, and the investigator sees the past, and in a small moment in time, communication can be had. You ever think about that? If they see you, they're seeing the future. If you see them, you're seeing the past. Or you're seeing the afterlife, depending on how you believe. The communication that we have with these spirits can sound as if it were in reverse. However, it is audible. It is literally called by the ghost to the echo in the Mobius twist that we live in. And the ghost in its own timeline sees a shadow, and what we see is an echo. The ghost we see is emblematic of the Mobius twist, given that it collapses. The living and the dead are coming together in one simultaneous figure, and it's neither fully dead nor alive in the same way a Mobius strip has neither an inside nor an outside. It's the whole Schrodinger's cat philosophy of ghosts and the investigative haunted things, the things that are residually haunted. See, in a haunted house, if we have a haunted house that's residually producing ghosts that are ambivalent, we must understand that in most cases these entities will not attack us even if they try to communicate. However, there are times when they do appear to communicate. There are times when they appear to see you. And when and if they do, which is rare, the ghost will act as if the person in the room is just someone who is there converging and coexisting simultaneously in the phantasm. Each ghost is an image in the mirror, and they see you in the ethereal mirrors that line up perfectly in the Mobius twist. It is a world inverted and a dimension bent in order for this remarkable event to happen. And I've been on plenty of ghost hunts to know that this can happen. And we have to understand what is hidden and have it revealed to us so that we can have those experiences that many people say don't exist. It's faith promoting to have a spiritual experience like this. And it may not be good and it may not be bad. You depend on it just all depends on how you feel. And as I was going through these artifacts, I thought, boy, this is kind of interesting. These possessions, haunted possessions, haunted artifacts, if you will. I know you've seen them in films. There have been many films dealing with haunted artifacts. Anything from haunted cars, haunted videos, I guess. And most people, when they go to an antique shop, they sense this, they feel this. I had a discussion the other day with Janine about an artifact that my father had. It was a bookcase. And my father cherished this bookcase. It was full of books. And she finally told me that she pressed some of the flowers from the funeral in one of the books in the bookcase, and she felt it'd be a good gesture because if my father was still taking care of that bookcase on the other side, or at least observing it from the other side because he really cared for it, then he would know that there were flowers put in there for him. Some people may, believe that, artifacts, antiques, they may have some power. And it's not that we want to worship them or anything like that, but something, gives them an image if they touch it. Or they feel electricity when they touch it, or they see it in their dreams, or you can hear voices when you touch the piece. Some objects that are haunted give off particular smells, or they make the room colder. My friend Roger, he said that there were these artifacts that I remember Dr. Larry Johns had. They were called Omnicrons. And what they were artifacts that would magnetically make the room safer. And they were filled with paranormal energy. And he believes that these Omnicrons, when they were positioned in the room, saved his house from catching on fire because the neighbors downstairs were smoking cigarettes and the can caught on fire, setting the whole bottom of the apartment area, the patio area ablaze. The fire crept up to the house, and where those Omnicrons were, these paranormal objects that were charged with power, there was no fire, nothing was damaged. So, there are objects that give off particular vibes. And I know many people disagree on where these vibes come from, but many people will agree that they have these types of artifacts in their homes. And when you're dealing with haunted objects, it appears that the haunting or the spiritual attachment or more residual there, and what you're feeling, once again, is back to that Mobius twist. And it's lost somewhere in that loop. And sometimes it comes together so perfectly that you see it, you feel it, and you can communicate with it. We were talking about dolls earlier, and how dolls by their nature inspire love and give people the creeps all at the same time. And I inherited a doll, and we call it the Little Dutch Creep. And I got it at a Krampus party, and we still have it. We have it hidden. Because, that doll we've had on camera before, and we used to keep him in my office on the bookshelf. And one day when we returned to work, we found the doll sitting in the window, and it was looking over 6th Avenue. It wasn't on the bookshelf. Either somebody moved it, which possibility is that, but it seems that no one comes into the office, and why would they touch that doll? It's like it was some sentinel guarding the window from incoming evil spirits, or perhaps it was a representation of such. But, here we are, talking about an inanimate object that may have not a soul, but it has something that's attached to it. Residual haunting. Like Annabelle, the doll Annabelle, the Raggedy Ann doll we talked about earlier, and how it was haunting a family. We assign all sorts of eeriness to dolls. They look like little people. They look like babies. They look like, especially old dolls with the old eyes. I remember we just went and saw that movie, Miss Peregrine's School for Peculiar Children, and there was a sequence in there where this young man was making dolls and giving them human hearts, or giving them hearts to keep them alive, and it just gave me the creeps to see these dolls animate. What is it with dolls? What is it with mannequins? It's just, you can assign personalities to dolls, puppets, human figurines, and of course, with the clown situation going on, people are frightened of clown dolls. People are frightened of Jack-in-the-Boxes. That's really, there was a terrifying sequence I saw with a Jack-in-the-Box the other day. The clown came out and started laughing, and it just said, "Are you scared?" And I thought, something simple like that just gave me the willies. Why? Why? Because all the clowns are getting killed, or they're killing people now. This has gone from some hysteria to now people shooting clowns, sending out stories, getting notices, parent notices from principals at schools. Something is up. Something weird is going on that's possessing people to do this. Something is possessing artifacts. I mean, and I'm not joking when I tell you about these artifacts, because I just told the story about that book I had that was given to me on June 6, 2006. And someone said there's a bad vibe with this book. I said, how can it be? It's a religious tract from a Baptist minister from 1918. And after psychometry, someone said somebody died while holding that book. Somebody told me it was a dead preacher that was killed by a homeless man. And what's really creepy is when that guy was killed, was holding onto the book, the person who killed him said, Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. From the book of Daniel. The writing is on the wall. Pay attention. The writing is on the wall. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. Some strange Aramaic saying written by a ghostly hand on the wall of the temple of Belshazzar. Those familiar with the scripture in Daniel know exactly what Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin means. God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Just messages through artifacts. Do you have a haunted artifact you want to share with us? Would love to hear about it. Coming up on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. You know, some people have artifacts that they don't even want to touch because they know there's something attached to them, but they keep them for some reason, for safekeeping. Other people sell them on eBay. Like, for example, they have an old Ouija board that they want to get rid of because they say there's some spirit on it they can't get rid of. Or perhaps an appliance that acts up crazy, or a doll that moves a certain way. Everybody has a haunted artifact. I'd like to hear which one you have, because I uncovered a bunch of them in my house when I was going through some of my old odds and ends that I used to keep for safekeeping, just in case I wanted to dig them up again sometime. And I was forced to when my friend Jonathan moved to New York. So now, here I am with all these things and thinking, I want to share them with you, and let's hear what you have to share with me. Let's go to Bobby in Maine. Hi, Bobby. You're on Ground Zero.
Yes, I listen to your show a lot, and you're very interesting when you talk about ghosts, but I had a story to tell you. It's kind of like ghosts. I used to work in a funeral home a number of years ago, and this caused two people to quit when this happened. We would always keep dead bodies to people that were going to be buried the next day down in the basement on the roller thing, just roll them out to the hearse. We opened at 9 and closed at 9. And this particular night, we had an 86-year-old lady who had been embalmed, and she was going to be buried the next day. So when we closed at night, of course, no one stayed over that night, and she was left sitting upon the roller thing that would roll her out to the hearse the next morning. We came in at 9 the next morning, and eventually went down to the basement, and the coffin was off of the roller thing, sitting on the floor with the top open, but she was in it. We never knew what happened. Nobody could ever explain that. Two of the guys just quit. It was frightening, and from that point on, nobody would stay in the funeral home overnight. That's quite a thing, you know. There it was, sitting on the floor, the whole casket, with the top open. How's that even possible? We can never figure it out.
So it was on the roller that you used to prepare to go into the hearse.
Right.
And it was waiting there, so when the hearse would back in, you could just take it and roll it into the back of the hearse.
That's right.
And when you arrived that morning, the casket was not on the rollers, but it was sitting on the ground open.
Flat on the floor. Sure was.
And how big was that lady? Because let's just talk here, because I was just a pallbearer, and those caskets are heavy, especially when they're metal.
There's some made out of brass, even.
Yeah.
They're heavy. Oh, she wasn't, but about 5'6", maybe. I don't know. Not very heavy.
How heavy was her casket? Was it wooden or was it metal?
Oh, it was like a brass one.
Okay, so it was pretty heavy.
Fairly heavy, yeah. It would take 4 of us to lift it.
Yeah.
But that was never explainable. I mean, I hunt ghosts. That's kind of a hobby of mine. I've done it for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could tell you many stories about ghosts. A person that don't believe in ghosts will not until they experience it.
And most of the time, and that's one of the reasons why. I mean, there was a time in my life where I was interested in mortuary science only because of bereavement and the stories I heard from people about immediate experiences with dead loved ones within 48 hours of their deaths, where they would either see them, talk to them in dreams, or something would signal to them that they know that they're alive and watching over them. And that to me, I think is a spirit building experience. Although there are a lot of people who believe that any contact with the other side is purely evil. What's your take on that, Bobby?
I don't think it's evil. It's just something that most people. Religion blocks a lot of people's minds, and I think that people that the movies and things have just ruined that. Real life ghost and so forth and on. It's not like the movies and things. But no, I don't think it's evil.
When you agree that a lot of the time when ghosts appear or when things happen, it's probably I would say it's pretty mediocre. I mean, the ghosts that I see in movies are nothing like the ones that you come in contact with. You really have to be paying attention, and it's not all that dramatic.
I was in a haunted place one time, me and an elderly lady, and a ghost took some sunglasses from me. And that was quite a story. That was something.
Right.
We still talk about that to this day, how that happened. It was an old tannery that had been closed down since 1969.
One thing before you go, could the body have shifted? I mean, because we know that sometimes bodies shift after the embalming process, or the gas could cause the body to shift. Was there any sign of that?
You mean where the casket could have fallen off on the floor?
Yeah, that maybe she shifted while she was sitting there, and the casket fell off onto the ground, and then the casket lid just flipped open.
Well, the only problem with that is it would have landed on its top, wouldn't you saw it, or on its side?
That's true, it would have, yeah.
This was just laying flat on the floor. And man, that made cold chills run all over you.
It's like instant viewing. Look at me again. I'm laying here.
Yeah, that was
I can just imagine how terrifying that would be. I know a lot of terrifying stories from coroners and examiners who I've known over the years, and some of them are pretty comical as well as unnerving about the dead. If people knew, they wouldn't want to know any more than just that they get all nice and pretty and they get put in the boxes, but that's about it. So, Bobby,
I really like your show, and I enjoy the paranormal part of it.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it, Bobby. Thank you for calling. Thank you for contributing to the program. That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of stories that morticians tell. And I knew a really good mortician, knew a guy that was a mortician, and we used to talk stories about, what would happen and some of the strange things that would happen. But yeah, bodies do strange things after death. And you don't want to get into the morbidity of it because that's not good. But there are places in mortuaries that certainly have spirits attached to them. When one of the things that happened when my father passed away recently is that when we walked into the funeral home, the lights dimmed a little bit when we walked in, and we asked the funeral director why that was going on. He says it happens all the time, and they don't know why. And it wasn't because some power draw. They say that they don't know why the lights dim, but sometimes they do. And we were thinking, oh, that's a little creepy. But yeah, I mean, we have haunted houses, we have haunted artifacts, and of course, you never know. Some of these crazy things that happen. The stories are amazing, and we want to hear some of them from you tonight. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. In the Mobius twist, in the 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional, something opens up, and we get a glimpse of either the afterlife or something greater, where the spirits are, where our loved ones are, or maybe it's something that we just can't explain. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. What do you have in your home that's haunted? Or do you know someone who has a haunted artifact in their home? I just uncovered a whole box of playthings that my buddy told me I should get a hold of before he leaves for New York. I got them now. Oh, the scary memories they've triggered. Everybody has something scary in their house. Talked to a lot of friends about what they have that are scary. A lot of you calling in tonight at 888-673-3700. Let's go to Alan in Michigan. Hi, Alan. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, me and my wife bought a piece of property in rural Michigan here, and we built a brand new home in 2000. So everything was new. She was putting some dishes away and whatnot, getting all her stuff moved in, and she heard something hit the kitchen floor. She turned around and found a old brass key. So she asked me if it belonged to me, and I said, it doesn't look familiar. It got put in a junk drawer or whatnot. After that, we didn't think a whole lot of it. And a couple months later, she found it in the middle of a wash machine, or on top of the wash machine. And just recently here, in the last couple of weeks, she's found it in the middle of our stairway leading to our upstairs. The last place I know it was in my armoire on a tray I keep my belongings. It had been there for months. So this thing just keeps reappearing around the house and placing itself in some odd spots. The key, since we've looked up on the internet, it's an ILC key. They stopped making them in 1947.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow, I don't know what the correlation is. If someone's trying to tell us there's something on the property that we built the house on that the key goes to, or we don't know why it keeps showing up.
I would say that, I don't know if there's any psychics that you look up locally, but you try to find a psychic that can do psychometry, which is the ability to hold. Yeah.
After this last event, that's something we really talked about, because I don't know if someone's trying to give us a sign or something locked up on the property, buried, or something along that line.
We had a psychic once. I had a guy who came on the show. I had a psychic a long time ago who was a police psychic. And they often lend hands for things like this. If you call a police psychic, they refer you to somebody who they rely on to try and find missing people and other missing artifacts. We had this psychic come on, and we handed her something, and it was a piece of a shingle. And she started feeling sick to her stomach when she held on to it. And she saying, I'm feeling all kinds of, I feel sick to my stomach. I smell something that smells like dead flesh. She named a few names, and she said that something about Uncle Charlie or Uncle Eddie, or she was just going on all these names and stuff. And I was thinking, wow, come to find out, the guy that presented the shingle to her, little did she know that it was the shingle to Ed Gein's shack where he murdered all those women. Somebody had the shingle taken from the place where he murdered all those women, Ed Gein, and it made the woman physically ill. That's how much power was in that shingle. So, inanimate objects, if they have a history, or if they've been, or if they're anywhere near some powerful event, they will certainly have things attached to them, whether they be sounds or smells, or even, things where visions come to mind when you touch them. And I don't know if anybody's had these experiences, but, I've known a lot of people who said that they've had things that, that seem to be, I don't know, that it was an old their father passed away, and it's a possession of his that seems to, come on at off moments or strange moments. Or plants, for example. There's another interesting story about a plant in a church that was dying. And this girl I knew had an Uncle Abner who used to come into the church, and he would basically help the plant nurse it back to health. Well, after Uncle Abner had passed away, it had been 2 or 3 days, and the plant was looking tired again. But then at the funeral, it seemed that the plant had just shot up. And it was almost as if Uncle Abner was taking care of that plant during his funeral. It was just a strange coincidence that this was going on. So obviously something, I think it attaches itself, or at least is a beacon or some sort of signpost in the paranormal world, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, if we find out something about it, I will call you back.
I would love to hear about that. Yeah, I'd like to hear about it.
Maybe I'll find $1 million back.
That'd be great. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Hank in Oregon. Hi, Hank. You're on Ground Zero.
Oh, hi, Clyde. It's a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
What I have, the story I have tonight, I've had this action figure for maybe 2 or 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I'm not entirely sure. Like some mornings I put it on my desk in a certain position, and like later that night when I get home, it's all the way in the other side of the room, just standing weirdly.
So are you saying it moves on its own, or something's moving it?
I think I can't decide if it's either someone's moving it or it's moving on its own, since I'm never at home like maybe 4 or 5 hours each day.
Can you set up a camera in the room to see what happens with it?
I have not. I currently do not have the money for it, but I'm deciding to do that this weekend.
Okay.
So once I get the camera, I believe I will find out what happens.
All right, if you get that camera footage, make it into something we can put on video and show it, because I'd like to see if that thing is moving while you sleep or while you're out. Just put the camera on it and watch it move. Okay? All right, I appreciate that. Thank you for calling. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Randy in Washington, you're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. Yeah, first time I've ever called in. I find your topic very intriguing. Had an experience with a toy that we kept in the schoolroom. We homeschool our children, and when we built our new home, we had bought some antique furniture, and that's just kind of a sidebar thought for right now. This toy that we had in the schoolroom, have you ever seen the maps that you lift the puzzle pieces and it tells you the capital of the state for the map that the puzzle piece you lifted?
Yeah, the old jigsaw puzzle that has the name of the state. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of goes Albany, New York.
Yeah.
And so I picked Albany, New York in particular because this map, we had the map for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and it would start to go off all by itself with no one in the schoolroom. We would hear it from downstairs, just repeatedly going Albany, New York, like somebody's lifting the piece and putting it back on. And we tried several different things with the map to see if we could alter what it was doing. If it would do it with any of the other states, we put it in total darkness, and it would do it all by itself for no apparent reason whatsoever. And in the process of listening to this and trying to figure out what's going on with this map, we got to I traveled a little bit, and I would come home from a trip, and my family would tell me that weird things are happening, like shadows moving down the hallway, or some noise, a completely unexpected and unexplained noise somewhere in the house. And of course, I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, I'm sorry I had to travel. I'll try not to travel so much, whatever.
Yeah.
Not really being fond of trying to get into that conversation until one event where my wife and I were sitting 90 degrees out from each other on the corner of our dining room table, and there was a little blue stuffed dog on the floor between us that one of the kids played with. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw this little blue dog move about 1.5 feet on the floor. Now, it's not a motorized dog. It's just a stuffed plush toy.
Right.
And I looked at my wife, and I said, okay, that was funny. So you kicked the dog. No, I didn't move it. And the hair on the back of my neck just went off. What we figured out is that we had a little visitor, must have had a young child visitor living with us. And, everything that went on, like with that plush toy, everything was kid-related.
Did you have any kids in the house with you when that was going on?
Yes, we did. We have 3 little girls.
How old were the girls?
The girls were, at that time, probably 8, 4, and 3.
So that's a little young for poltergeist activity. I was just curious because usually young girls in their teens generate poltergeist activity for some reason. They call it the psychokinetic connection, or there's psychokinesis going on. It's very real. It usually happens when young girls are in the house. Something to think about. But Randy, we're out of time, but gosh, what a story. And I'm sorry we didn't have much time to figure this out. But yes, poltergeist activity, obviously. So something was happening with the little girls, and I don't know what it is. It probably would have to be investigated. But thank you so much for calling in tonight.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Yeah, little girls in the house, it generates that psychokinetic power. It's a phenomenon that it can't be explained. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
In Ohio. This sounds good. Chris, you're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hey, Clyde. How are you tonight?
Doing great, man.
Good. I'm driving through the country, and I'm listening to the show tonight, hearing about energies attaching themselves to objects. We had this little figurine. I would guess that it might be made of pewter or something. It's a woman in a dress with her back arched and her hands together, kind of reaching in the air. And my wife and I have absolutely no idea where it came from. Just kind of appeared in our things, and we've kind of kept it around over the years. And she recently started speaking to a psychic a little bit over the phone, and this lady happened to have some insight on the figurine, telling us that it originated somewhere in Eastern Europe. It's extremely old, and that it's okay to have it around, but not spend too much time with it because it has a great sadness attached to it. It's not necessarily a negative object or even a positive thing to have around, but too much time with it could lead to maybe experiencing some of that sadness as well.
Yeah, that's the thing is that when you have these things that attach themselves, it affects everything. And that's the thing. It affects you. It affects those around it. I mean, I've had things I've come in contact with. Like, for example, there's something that I have that I'm going to be sharing later on that even my friends, when I tell them what it is, they immediately get all wiggy about it. And what it is, it's basically look at this. It's a DVD, okay? And on the DVD, allegedly is how can I put this? It's a camera set in a room with the light on, and you see a dark entity walk across the room. Okay? Yeah. This entity allegedly is a jinn. This old man said that he dug up some jars near a cemetery. And when he dug up those jars, one opened up and this black entity came out, and it was haunting him his whole life. I think the guy eventually ended up committing suicide because this dark entity was bothering him. But I had so much controversy over this dark entity, and he sent me a video of it to show me that he wasn't kidding. And this is probably the best evidence of a dark entity on film or on that's been recorded that I've ever seen in my life. And he said that it's so important that you use what is called a containment spell that you have to say over the video before you play it. And I don't take any chances. I actually say the containment spell because I don't want anything to happen while I watch this. And I'm just wondering how I'm going to be able to present this to the audience, because this is a breakthrough thing that I uncovered, and I haven't touched this for years. And those who remember the old shows of Ground Zero know how terrifying this video is and how it's influenced a lot of people and it's frightened them. I'm not kidding you. This has been, people say, oh, this is nothing. But no, it has frightened a lot of people. It has caused people a lot of turmoil when they've seen it. It has shocked them, and I've had it. And whenever I say this is the disc, people say, get away from it. I don't even want to be near it, because they get a vibe off it so bad. And like I say, you have to say the containment spell over it before you play it. Otherwise, people will wig out. And I wig out. That's why I do it. So there you go.
So have your friends watched it then?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I had Ron watch it today, and he was like going, this is amazing. And see, and that's the thing, is I'm contemplating trying to figure out how I'm going to present this, because, unless, I don't know. because I want to make it into a video and I want to have it available so people can watch it. Maybe what I'll do is I'll say, please say the containment spell to keep yourselves from being, shocked by it or something. I don't know. It's just something that he told me that you needed to do before he died. And he died. He committed suicide because this thing was haunting him. And he says, if you're going to watch this, Clyde, you have to say the containment spell. So there is a containment spell, and he says it is a gin. It was in a bottle, and I have this artifact. I dug it up out of my box. I couldn't believe I still had it because my friends thought I got rid of it. I still have it. And I don't know if I want to present it or not. And this is something we've had debates about this before. It's the old, should I show the gin or should I show the gin? I don't know. I got to find a way to creatively present this. This is evidence. And it's so compelling that people have been freaked out by it. So anyway, just at that, Chris, thank you so much for the call.
Hey, thanks for your time.
Take care. Bye-bye. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Yeah, I mean, books are one thing that may have been in the hands of dead preachers. But opening something like that, I don't know how I'm going to do it. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I know that we can speculate out loud about just what is happening when it comes to hauntings, when it comes to occult behaviors, whatever is done. I mean, a lot of these residual hauntings sometimes end up being family secrets, and many family members are afraid to speak out about these hauntings because they're afraid of ridicule. And there's a lot of people out there with religious beliefs that have a struggle with a lot of this. I've always said, there's this halfway point, I think, anymore, where religion and science are going to have to, explain a lot. And the problem that I see is that everybody thinks that science is truth. The minute science says it's so, then most people believe it's so. But then again, science has a tough enough time trying to figure out, or at least assess, just what is happening with the supernatural. When Marshall Barnes was on the show, he kind of hinted at the fact that the supernatural and the natural laws of physics apply together. As many wormholes and stargates are something that can happen. And we can't explain them. We can't explain why they happen. They just do. Einstein talked about the Rosen Bridge, the throat between the two centers, the idea of going in one end, coming out the other end. And entities can pull the same actions. All they need to do is focus on one thing. That's why we see the ever-present secret of an entity somehow finding its way into the room of a child. We see the psychodynamic of the groupthink, the psychodynamic of everyone who's had the experience, but it's never truly analyzed in a sense. Most families, when they are dealing with this sort of thing, they write it off and they say, well, that's some dysfunctional mental problem that our kids are having. Let's take them to the doctor. Maybe that'll fix things. What I'm referring to is the man who called the program and said that he had the girls and the kind of the poltergeist activity that he couldn't explain. I think many people who have been fans of Stephen King remember the movie Carrie, or remember the book Carrie White. And she was this misfit girl. She was trying to fit in her high school. She's an outcast. She's bullied by other girls. And then she has to go home to a mother who's an overzealous Christian, convinced that her daughter's a demonic spawn because of how she was conceived. And then, she has her period, and immediately the zealot Christian mother, the fanatical Christian mother, thinks that she has been having sex. So all this tension and this abuse creates a method by which telekinetic power and the late onset of puberty, which your mother interprets as demonic, is triggering something. Now, know this is something that, only investigators, when they do the investigations, know about these types of things, but it has to be recorded and it has to be talked about because these things that are haunted, these haunted artifacts are very real in people. They have them. They own them. They have haunted houses. They have areas of their home that are haunted. They have areas of certain places of land that are haunted. Certain sounds, smells, all those things trigger an anxious feeling. Sometimes feelings of dread, sometimes benevolent feelings, but we do know those feelings exist, and we do know there are artifacts out there that are haunted, and people do own them. And they all have meaning to them. These meaningful things are quantified and written about and talked about, but, some people don't experience them because they're expecting something miraculous, when in reality, things happen like this on an everyday, day-to-day basis, happens every time, and only those who notice are the ones that have it affect them. Otherwise, other people say, well, I didn't understand it, I don't get it. It's called the Oz effect. People have paranormal experiences together and other people don't. It's kind of a weird situation, weird setup. Let's go to Chuck in Texas. Hey, Chuck, you're on Ground Zero. How you doing, man?
Hey there, Clyde. Yeah, it's good to hear from you. Boy, I think I'm gonna have to talk real fast in order to get everything else I want out. But let's see. I guess I kind of have a problem here with it's not a problem. That's the other thing is I don't see why these sort of hauntings or whatever they are. I don't see why they have to be thought of as always being something evil or bad or anything. Sometimes you want to be haunted, especially when it's somebody you love and you might want to have them around,
Right, exactly.
Somehow, or you might want to communicate with you somehow. And the odd thing is, I've got a washing machine here. We live out in the woods and everything else, and it's kind of, me and my dad kind of pretty much live with each other out here alone, pretty much out in the woods, not too far from Austin, so we get into town a lot. But the thing is, we have a washing machine. On the day that my dad was, murdered, I was blocked from going along on this ride he went on with, but I was blocked, and I was washing some. While I was waiting for a cab to get to where my dad was going to, which out here that means a lot of money and a lot of time. But the thing is, I was washing a few things, a small load, whatever it is, in this washing machine. My dad was always washing stuff. He was the one who did the wash, But the thing is, I was washing some stuff, and I felt him being murdered at the time. But I just ignored it because I thought, it's just me. It's just some kind of crazy thought I was having, But I felt it was, and so then I finished up the wash real quick and everything else, and I was washing and waiting for the cab. I was going to try to dry some stuff on the lines out here, and but the thing is, the interesting thing about the washing machine is that a few times I've gone out there. And this is the old washing machine, because it's an old thing that we got, and it had a lot of tricks to getting it to actually work. And my dad was really the only one who could really get it to work.
Right.
I was just lucky that day that I was even able to get the dang thing to do anything. But the thing is, the weird thing is that I will go back there, and this has never happened with this machine before, and I will go back there, and it'll have the knob. It'll have gone through almost the whole cycle, and then it'll have stopped. And then I'll be going out there, and all this water will be coming out of the washing machine and everything else, as if it was trying to do a load or something. And it's really strange because it's never done anything like that before. I mean, usually when it gets to the right level, it stops. It stops. The water stops and everything else. But it would just turn on by itself. And there's no way it can just accidentally turn on, because it's like the most impossible. It's very hard to turn this thing, get this thing running. You have to go through a whole procedure, and I talked to a friend about it, and she said, well, maybe that's your dad communicating with you, because he was always doing the laundry. He was always doing the wash.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, and I'm thinking, well, maybe it's not so much a haunted washing machine, but maybe for the time that he was trying to communicate with, if you let me know he's still around, maybe it is, but at the same time, the fact that I was doing that day that he was being murdered,
mm-hmm.
maybe that also has that tie to the washing machine, somehow. So I don't know what what it would relate to, but the two of us, it's very strange.
Well, things happen like that, and if they have meaning to you, and if they certainly, give you the feeling that perhaps there's something to it, and you sense it, down to your soul, then maybe something is attached to it in that regard.
Oh,
go ahead.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Can I say one more thing?
Mm-hmm.
Marshall Barnes. One of the reasons why I wanted to call it a Marshall Barnes, thinking of haunting, to your Marshall Barnes episodes, I had been thinking about, what he does, how his, what do you call that fan that he uses?
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I know what you're talking about, yeah.
But anyway, the fan, and it's kind of creating multiple wormholes into the past. He doesn't necessarily know where they're going, but the thing is, I thought it would be wonderful if somehow that could be developed a little bit further, and I could basically it probably would carry a signal across time and space.
Mm-hmm.
If I could basically call my phone or my dad's phone the day before, or sometime before, he got carried off and murdered, and basically the day before, my dad said, "Hang up the phone." And basically, the message I would send to myself, I would call my own phone,
mm-hmm.
And I would say, when my dad's name is Bill, when Bill says hang up the phone, do it.
Right.
That would be the message I would say.
Well, that's only if it goes into that timeline. You understand what I'm saying?
The thing is, and it would only change that particular world line.
Right.
But at least I might know that somewhere on some world line, my dad was still alive. So.
But you can know that now if you just believe in the parallel universes. You can know that now.
Well, that's true, because probably there's other possibilities that could have happened, and he might still be alive on some other parallel universe or something.
Sure.
But it would also be a way of. It would probably. I would feel if I were back then and I got that call, I would think my phone was haunted.
Well, what's odd about parallel universes? I got to thinking about this one time, and that is, everybody says that when you die, you go to a better place and you leave your loved ones behind. What if you die and you go to a parallel universe where you don't have to miss your loved ones? They're already in that timeline, and you just show up in some way that makes it possible for you to show up.
I'd like to travel to that parallel universe right now.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah, me too. I'd love to go to a parallel universe to see my dad. So wouldn't that be awesome if that's the way it is, that they go away and they don't miss you that long because, of course, time's different, and they all of a sudden get to see you again and say, well, that was a short time. You're here now. How nice,
And the other thing would be also like out-of-the-body experiences and near-death experiences and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It would be interesting if you could somehow control an out-of-body experience so that you could actually travel to one of those parallel universes.
That would be cool.
Where your dad was still alive.
Some people say that they can, but then again, who knows? And that's all what makes this world a very, very interesting and intricate place, and we don't have all the answers. But Chuck, thank you so much for thinking for me and thinking with us tonight. We'll be back with more Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. Haunted artifacts and what they mean. Tonight, I had a few that I have gotten out of the box, but one is a book that I have called Mark of the Beast that was given to me on June 6, 2006. It is a religious tract, but inside are some pretty scary things. And when I had two psychics do psychometry on it, one told me that there was a death involved with making the book at the printing press. Someone else told me that it was in the hands of a dead preacher. It was killed by a homeless person who said after the killing was done, "Many, many tekel upharsin," which is from the book of Daniel. Really bizarre. 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101, KXL.
This is Ground Zero on FM News 101.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. Hey, I want to thank all of you. Those who showed up in the Skype Live studio for the live broadcast we did showing the micro wormhole experiment with Marshall Barnes. The audience that was there was amazing. I thank you all who showed up. You're definitely supporters of my program, and I'm very grateful for the support I receive from those who show up to my events, because that shows support. And that's what keeps radio shows on the air, is support. You don't always have to pay money for support. You don't always have to buy goods. You don't always have to, you have to just download shows, spread them around, go see shows and attend. And I really appreciate that kind of support if you show up to these get-togethers. One more thing I want to tell you is this Friday, we do another remarkable remote broadcast, this time from the Oregon Historical Society Museum at 1200 Southwest Park Avenue. That's 1200 Southwest Park Avenue. We are going to be there for the comic extravaganzas, Comic City, USA. We're going to be there for their comic display, and we'll be doing a live show there. Comic books are old school Ground Zero topics because comic books are what made the show in the early days, and we still talk about comics, especially around the time of Wizard World. We have celebrities on the program who want to come on and speak, and many of them from the comic book world. I know that a lot of our comic book heroes now are seen on television programs like The Flash and Daredevil. That's on Netflix. And we get to see others like Batman and Superman and Gotham and Supergirl. I go down the list of all of the movies and all of the, Deadpool. Come on. All the movies and all the TV shows that deal in comic books, and all because people have a heritage and a background reading these wonderful books and learning from them. Gosh, what would I do without Fantastic Four? What would I do without reading Batman or Mad Magazine? People, a lot of people, I'm sure, read Mad Magazine. But coming up, we'll be having this get-together, and hopefully I'll be gathering some of the best talent to come speak with me that night, to be on the air with me that night. Some of them are local, a lot of great talent, comic, writers and producers here in the Oregon area. Dark Horse Comics, of course, and other groups. We'll be featuring some of them and talking with a lot of people who are involved in the genre. Of course, I've always had respect for those in the field. And a lot of my friends here also do a lot of comic books here in Oregon. So the Oregon Historical Society Museum, we're going to be there. We open the doors at 6, but we'll be doing a 7 to 10 broadcast there, or I think it's 7 to midnight, maybe it's 7 to 12. I don't know. They may have me there for a while. I'll enjoy myself for sure, I know, and I know you will too. The Oregon Historical Society, Comic City, USA, getting together. We're going to have Fearless beer there too. That'll be served, so if you want to have some Fearless beer, that'll be there as well. At the museum, Oregon Historical Society, 1200 Southwest Park Avenue. Doors open at 6, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's free, by the way. Free. So come out and support the show and have some fun. A lot of comic displays going on, a lot of participation from you as well. Coming up, more of your phone calls at 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Give us a call. Talking about haunted artifacts tonight. Just opened some of the old boxes in my closets and found some really haunted, weird stuff. Do you have anything like that? We'll be back.
FM News 101, KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Many Tekelu Farson. That were the words that were being spoken by an alleged homeless man that killed the man who had the book from 1918 called The Mark of the Beast. Haunted artifact in my possession, which I have right now, and it's brought back some memories of what I was told from the psychics who told me that someone had died in the making, or with the creation of that book. And so I have it, and it's still to this day, it gives me the creeps whenever I touch it, because it certainly has some definite meaning behind it, and the words in it are very creepy, especially when it's talking about Apollyon, an emperor who wants to take over the world and create a new Roman Empire, the Antichrist. It's kind of scary. Let's go to Sergio in California. Hi, Sergio. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi. I believe I might have a thunder egg. It looks like a geode, but it's about the size of a softball, and it looks like a small moon, and it's perfectly round.
Mm-hmm.
And when I found this object, something told me that I belong to this thing, and I'm now its guardian.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Say again?
I said that's interesting. You feel that you are its guardian.
Yeah. See, I was coming back home from Burning Man, and I got a phone call from my aunt saying my grandfather had died, so I went to the house, and his body was still in the house, and my relatives were being a bunch of jerks, so I stepped out to the shed where he and I spent our time, and the shed's full of junk. And I took a left turn, and this thing was way tucked back in a corner underneath a bunch of old junk. It's like I have no idea how I even found it, but it was the first thing I saw, and I picked it right up.
I've always wanted to find a thunder egg, actually. I mean, I hear they're around. I've seen them when you crack them open and how they have the crystal inside and everything. You haven't cracked this open yet, have you?
Oh, no, God, no. And I believe it might take 10,000 years or 10,000 lifetimes, but for the here and now, I belong to it. I'm its guardian.
So, do you think something's inside of it that if you release it, it may cause trouble? I mean, that's the thing, so you're its guardian and you're there to keep it from being broken?
Yeah, keep it from being broken or tampered with, and it's only supposed to hatch or be open.
It's only supposed to what? Sergio? You're fading out. It has to hatch or what, or be open when? Sergio? Let's wait a second here. I want to hear the story. Sergio. Oh, damn. Sergio calls back. I want to hear the story because this is really bizarre, I swear. It's a bizarre story. Let's go to Mark in Oregon. Hi, Mark. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. How you doing? I'll just make it quick and direct. I do believe in haunted objects because myself and a group of my employees and friends were haunted by one. We work for an airline in Portland, and we thought it would be a great idea to hike up to a wreck site about 50 miles southeast of here, which is a crash site. Ended up taking a piece of souvenir to prove that we were up there.
Where's the crash site at?
It's 5 miles south of Weemy. It was a DC-9. Its designation was West Coast 956.
Okay.
It crashed on October 1st, 1966. So basically, the bottom line is once we came back from the crash site, we were most people that were there have an uneasy feeling. It's definitely a haunted place, but I was the dummy that took the souvenir, and I seem to have the most problems with it as far as I kept it in my apartment here. You'd have, a lot of uncontrolled anxiety and dreams. One night, and I'll just make the cut to the chase. The worst one I had was I woke up out of a sound sleep. The piece of the crash plane was sitting out on the coffee table I got here. I smelled jet fuel for some reason. Don't ask me why. I just smelled jet fuel. Mm-hmm. And I walk out into the front room, and it's dark. And there's a whole group of people here. And it didn't take no rocket scientists to figure out that they weren't alive. And I do believe they were the spirits of the people who were on the plane. And nothing spoke. It was more like a shadow figure that was standing in front of you in the dark. Mm-hmm. And all I got kind of telepathically was, why did you disturb us? We're still up there. I just, when you're gassed like that, when you're confronted by something like that, you just sort of sit there for a minute and go, whoa, I don't know how long that was. And then I closed my eyes and turned on the lights, and they were all gone. And that's a freak out. Mm-hmm. It really is. And from then on, I took the piece of the wrecked plane that we had, which is was only like 1.5 feet square. It looked like a piece that you would be, of the ceiling that you would be sitting like up on top of your head when you're sitting in a plane. It had the little air nodules and things there. It was clearly, it was, just a piece that you could take out in the backpack. The reaction sort of lessened when you got the thing out of the apartment. But long story short, our operations department, which planes call in, given arrival times and whatnot, started getting ghost calls with this aircraft's designation number.
Really?
They would call in and say Portland Ops, which is pretty standard for any operations mode, and they'd say, West Coast 956. Well, our airline is not West Coast, and we don't have a 956. And that happened for a while. And when the people, my friends and I caught wind of that, we pretty much figured out, well, what do we do? And the only thing I could think of is to take the piece back. Take a piece back to the crash site and leave it there and say, we understand you're here, and we made a mistake taking this piece, and leave us be, and we'll leave you be. And when we finally did that, the calls stopped, and things kind of went back to normal. But I really do believe in haunted objects. If you go to Ghost Town, don't take anything.
Right.
You go to wreck site, don't take anything.
Right. Yeah, I would say the same thing. I went to the crash site of the two, what do you call them, the two men that were taking the artifact back to Dayton, Ohio. It was allegedly the artifact that fell off of a UFO in Maury Island.
Right.
And there was so many amazing things that were happening, little pieces that we'd find. And then we'd see glowing objects once we picked those up, and we decided to leave things behind. But then we went to the museum there in Kelso, Washington, and they showed us some of the material they found up there. And so, there are a lot of people that are saying that what happened at Maury Island was a hoax, but if it was such a hoax, then why is it that this plane was dispatched to pick up this material and crashed out there in Kelso, Longview area? And and this also reminds me of a story, back when 9/11 happened, the 9/11 attacks in Flight 93 and what happened with that. And there were people who were saying, security guards who were there to watch the crash site, sometimes at night they'd get knocks on their door, and they'd open the door and there'd be people standing out there, and one person said to them, "What do we do now?" And then they disappeared into the night, and they were saying that those were the passengers that were walking in that area, but saying things like, "What do we do now? I don't know what to do. Where's my family?" So, things do have power. What's that?
I'm almost certain I saw the dead people.
Yeah.
There's no other way to describe it.
Well, something like a plane crash is something that gets caught in the loop over and over again, I think. I think those major things. Did you ever hear of the movie Millennium or the book Millennium?
Yeah, I did see that movie, Millennium.
Yeah. That I thought was an amazing thing, that they'd go back in time during plane crashes, and they would take the living off the planes. They'd take the living off the planes, and then they would, replace them with the dead bodies of the future. And they said the reason why is because in time loops, they were able to calculate and know the exact time and reason for the plane crashes. So obviously plane crashes are major events in the time loop, which I think is just amazing. It's just an amazing way of looking at it. Yeah.
I just did some quick research on this because, when you do run into this stuff, you do research. And I got the NTSB report on the crash.
Yeah.
And it says that the plane ran into a ridge because it was way below its assigned altitude. It was supposed to be at 12,000, and it ran into a ridge at 3,700 feet.
Wow.
And the only question I have is, which was never explained, is they had 3 pilots on board, not just 2. There was 2 pilots and a check airman. And my question for being in the airline industry all that time is, how does 3 experienced pilots get 8,000 feet below their altitude? So something happened that night, and I do believe that whoever visited me, in that incident was trying to tell me that, but I just wasn't able to get the full message.
Always unfinished business and messages that we need to hear when the dead come to call or when the people from the afterlife come to call. It's always been my experience that that's why they come. They have something to say or they have some unfinished business they have to tend to. So yes, that would stand to reason that part you had probably drew a number of them to you. Who knows what you'd do now if you had it again. So Mark, thank you for that story. It's amazing.
Yeah, thanks for letting me participate.
You bet. Have a great night. Take care. What a great story that was. So amazing story tonight. Can you give some amazing stories too? It's haunted artifacts and what they do and what they tell you. Something caught in the Mobius twist. It's just amazing. I mean, the more stories we tell, maybe we can figure out what really is going on. Something happening in the ether. Something amazing. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL. This is Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
Okay, let's bring Sergio back. I just want to quickly hear. No, so I quickly sum up the story again so we can figure it out what happened now.
Basically, I found this geode in my grandpa's shop.
Right, and you were saying that you're a guardian of it. What do you think is in it? Why are you guarding it?
It told me to, in a very subtle, quiet way. It just told me what to do, and it's quite a mystery to me.
What's in it, do you think?
I think it might be crystals, but I think there might be an etheric being in it.
Is it ever wanting to come out, or does it want to stay there? Why must you guard it and not open it?
The idea is that this thing might take eons to hatch.
And you really believe this? You really believe that you have to be the guardian of this rock?
Yeah. I think it might take eons, maybe thousands of years or thousands of lifetimes to hatch, and it's only going to come out when it needs to come out.
Do you have someone that's a beneficiary to this rock if you pass away?
No, sir. No, sir, not at all.
Well, then who's going to guard it if it's going to take long enough for it to hatch? I mean, you got to have somebody you can trust that will be the guardian of that rock.
I just think it just finds its people, not unlike the ring not unlike the ring, it just finds its people over time.
So you're saying that if you were to pass away, that rock would find somebody else to guard it?
Almost invariably. Like my great-grandfather found it, and then somehow it wound up in my grandfather's shed, and now I have it. But like I said, I just found it amongst all this junk in a dark corner of a big old shed, and there's no way I could have found it just even looking for it.
Where do you keep it for safekeeping so it doesn't get harmed?
I just keep it in my house with my other crystals and whatnot, and it's a perfectly round geode. I look at all the other images of geodes. Nothing is this round and nothing's this perfect, and I dare not scratch it or touch it or try to open it. It's a special thing. And something told me in a very quiet, subtle inner voice that there's something living in it, and I'm its guardian.
Man, you have a lot of patience. I would sit there and say, I want to know what's inside of it. I would want to know what's inside of it.
It's about inner knowing, knowing your inner self, and in my lifetime, I've been able to watch, a chrysalis, watch a bug hatch, watch a plant grow, watch paint dry.
Right. So you have no desire. You have no desire. You haven't been tempted just to take a mallet to it and open it up.
Sir, I've only seen 360 years in the future, so I don't have enough insight to know what's inside of it. I'm not,
So you say you've seen the future. You've also seen the future? Is that what you're telling me? 360 years in the future?
That's like tomorrow.
So well, for you, maybe, but for me, I don't see that far into the future. What do you see for the future?
Oh, this world is so beautiful, and all this artifice is going to be like it's never been.
So you think so it's going to end up being beautiful?
Oh, this planet, this world is going to be so beautiful. Father Creator and Mother Earth are just going to reclaim what's theirs, what's always been theirs.
Do we destroy it?
Dang told me.
Do we destroy it after they claim it, or before they claim it?
We can't.
We can't destroy it.
And this is,
No, and this egg told me that I'm its guardian, and it's going to hatch when the time is right.
Will we come close to annihilating ourselves, do you think, in the future?
Say again?
I said, in the future, do we come close to annihilating ourselves?
That part of the future wasn't revealed to me. What was revealed to me is that everything that is here will be as though it has never been. And this world will be so beautiful, it will make you cry just looking at it.
Interesting.
Because that's how it should be.
Paradise.
And that's what's real.
Renewable paradise. Glory of paradise and renewal. Complexity theory. Something they don't talk to us about when they're talking about climate change. Anyway, Sergio, thank you for the call. I'm out of time.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye. A beautiful paradise, 360 years into the future. Guarding a rock. Something is in it, he says. Some valuable entity, some valuable life form. And it's not felt the least bit urged to take a rock or take a mallet to the rock and bust it open. I don't know if I could handle that. Would you? I don't know. That'd be difficult. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. We'll be back. I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. We've discussed many times on this program about the supernatural world, about the view and the, I guess the attitude that is changing now. I mean, it looks like about 2/3 of the American people. 2/3 of the American people give respectful consideration to the idea of paranormal activity. It is important to stress that what were once dismissed as hallucinatory activities or hallucinations or, mind expansion, some people call it, mental abnormalities, they're now being accepted as unexplainable phenomena that seem to replicate and increase. And as we've said many times, some of these strange things we're now replicating them, and they're starting to. Well, they can be replicated, they can be duplicated, and they can be falsified. By the way, that's something else you got to add to science. You got to be able to falsify data as well. So those of you that think that just saying something's a hoax or fake, yeah, if it can be faked, doesn't mean it's not real. It means that we have to fake it in order for it to remain part of the documentation. Can it be faked? Can it be duplicated? Can it be replicated? Can we see the conditions happen again for it to happen again? Cultural anthropologists no longer dismiss paranormal experiences. They're not. No more do we strike them down as mental illness. They're now normal. And we've had a consistent appearance throughout history of surges in paranormal activity. I'm already hearing now from people who are saying they think this clown thing is collective consciousness. This whole clown panic, a lot of people are saying it's the collective unconscious. It's something that it's Jungian. That people are seeing these things. Maybe they don't exist, or maybe they're seeing another corner of their eye, but they want to be a part of a phenomenon, hysteria. Or so he says, yeah, I saw a clown. Or yes, I had some sort of a encounter with a clown. I mean, we've had these consistent types of hysteria. I talked about the Mad Gasser the other night. Plenty of satanic panics in our history. Groupthink, mass hysteria, consciousness levels are somehow apt for this phantom clown stuff. But there are now actions and intentions where antiquated ritual and intent are involved in creating this social trance that's needed to conjure various demons and entities and clowns and poltergeists and all these things we're afraid of. All these things that give us a chill. Now, there is a term we've talked about on this program before of the intentional ratcheting up of an opposition to an idea or an experience, if it's a paranormal experience or some sort of phantom experience, and that is it's called schismogenesis. In fact, cultural anthropologists have acknowledged that the paranormal experience is part of the human experience and is far more normal than paranormal and should not be dismissed as some psychological disorder. And in this country, schismogenesis is something that we're being forced into because they're telling us that we shouldn't believe our eyes and ears, that we should listen to authorities, that science tells the truth and no one else does. And that includes religion. That includes the supernatural aspects of God, the supernatural aspects of belief in angels and demons and everything else that goes with it. Because the paranormal is an adjunct to religion. And I don't care what people say it is. An angel is a supernatural entity. A demon is a supernatural entity. Hell, aliens are supernatural entities. They may have nuts and bolts, or they may be, bone and sinew and skin and slime and whatever they may be. But until we have one to present and compare to something else, it's still considered supernatural. We are divided politically, we are divided religiously, and even with matters of paranormal activity, we're divided because science is there to say, well, we're giving you all the truth, and if we can't duplicate it, blah, 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 blah. Well, look. It's like this. There's this ongoing battle for superiority and conflict, which breeds the same toxic environment of confusion, and by some sick and twisted irony, the environment we're in is a hive for all kind of chaotic and misguided thought, the same environment the true believers say demons dwell in. The demons are winning. I mean, we can't draw lines in the sand and say that the human experience is not full of unexplained supernatural activity. You can't do that. Everyone has an experience that they can't explain, and some deny it, others embrace it. People have haunted artifacts. They find things that have meaning in their lives. And here we are in the middle of this intense reality show called politics. And there's this renaissance that hardly gets talked about. And it's a renaissance of science and technology meeting up with the supernatural. We're talking about the quantum mechanics. The quantum entanglements with Marshall Barnes the other day. You know, even though it was a very scientific aimed show at wormholes, it was very paranormal in a sense as well, because it was explaining a lot of things. The most complex system on this planet is the human brain. It's the only system that is able to receive the signals that we see as logical. And some of the others, we don't know exactly where the hell they come from. We don't know what they are. They just happen. Deja vu. Synchronicity. Mandela effect. Feeling of being in two places at one time. Vivid dreams. Astral projection. Psychokinesis. The mainstream news haphazardly chuckles uncomfortably when they report various stories of possession, haunted houses, haunted artifacts. We've seen these stories come and go. We wonder if people are making these things up. And maybe some people are. But just the idea that people are making things up to make money, well, not really. Flash in the pan events such as these, if they get any publicity at all or anybody picks up on them, it gets lost in the news cycle within 24 to 48 hours. But that doesn't mean these things don't happen. It doesn't mean that things aren't happening all the time, which they are, and people are having experiences that they can only say to their friends, members of their family, shows like this. And that's important. A lot of people feel afraid. They feel guilt. They feel anger. And it's triggered because they feel like, I wish I could say something, but I'm afraid I'll be laughed at. I'm afraid I'll be ridiculed. But if we find and we nurture this newly found paranormal worldview, we can sum it all up in the idea that, yes, we do live in a demon-haunted world. And that a lot of these ghosts and demons and haunted artifacts and things are conjured up by our own will. Something is being sent into the universe, and maybe it's coming back at us because the veil is thinner. We fear clowns, so clowns are now biting at us and appearing in our dreams, in our minds, at our schools, threatening our children, people dressing up as clowns, thinking that it's something they have to do. And they end up dead. People getting artifacts that are haunted, feeling they have to guard. I mean, the gentleman that had to guard the rock, Sergio. What prompts a man, totally coherent, saying that he is the guardian of a rock because he believes that there's an entity in that rock that should not be released into the world. And that he claims he saw the future and it was paradise. No doom and gloom coming from his mouth, saying, I can't think of anything that would destroy us. Is that he saw the world in a beautiful way in the future, 300 years future. In a dream, some spiritual enlightenment. But we know that a lot of what is happening here and in the world, entire world, is with all the anxiety and anger. We are triggering the release of what Carl Jung called dark archetypes. And I can tell you that, you don't have to be a scientist or a supernatural fan or whatever to know that these archetypes are manifesting now. And the phantoms that haunt us, they're very real. The artifacts that they attach themselves to are very real. And the experiences I know you're having are very real. I have them too. My friends are having them. Your friends may be having them. They may be afraid to tell you. Or maybe you have an open relationship with people that you can have open minds and open chats and open discussions that aren't going to be ridiculed or laughed at. Well, tonight, here's your opportunity to tell us about what's been happening with you. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. About 2 lines open, so if you want to get in, maybe you can get in now if you call in. 888-673-3700. Let's load those phones. I'll get to them just coming up right after the break, right here on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis, and we'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
All right, let's go to Alex in Florida. He's been waiting patient. Alex, hi, you're on Ground Zero.
Hey, I called way earlier when I heard you speak to the individual about the children and the poltergeist, I believe is what you had said it was.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a police officer. I've been a police officer for 22 years.
Awesome.
It about 3.5 years ago, my partner and I responded to a call of a domestic, and it said that a 13-year-old female had locked herself in the bedroom threatening suicide. So we get there, we knock on the door. The person who answers the door said that they didn't call the police. We had the 911 dispatcher do a cross-trace on the phone number. It came back to the same apartment. And I said, do you have a 13-year-old girl here? She said, yeah, she was arguing with my mom earlier and so on. Okay, well, we need to see that she's okay. So we went to the room. The door was locked. Her mom gets up, walks out, and we said, we received a call of a 13-year-old girl committing suicide. She goes, I argument with my daughter earlier, and I think that maybe, my God, do you think she's doing something to herself? Please just get in the room. So we forced ourselves into the room, but we woke her up from a dead sleep. She was sleeping. I can tell when someone's faking like they were sleeping or they were awake, but she was sleeping. The room was vividly, I wouldn't say cold, but I would say uncomfortably cool. And the girl woke up and she said that it was her friend Minnie. And she said this very nonchalantly. And she said this very as a matter of fact. And she said, don't worry about it. And she wanted to go back to sleep. And then her mom spoke to me in the hallway, and her mother said that, she, for about a year and a half, 2 years, she has this psychological friend named Minnie. And she's very protective, that she's very protective of this. And her mom was dismissing it as drugs. She's hanging around with the wrong people. She's doing drugs. And for a year and a half now, she'll, whenever she does drugs or she does something bad, or she's at school, she's been given, somebody in the school's giving her something or a pill, and she'll come home, she'll be in a bad mood, and she'll say it was her friend Minnie. Well, anyways, my point is that when I spoke, I woke the girl up again. I said, did you call 911? Did you say you wanted to hurt yourself? She said no, that it was her friend Minnie. And we said, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take you to get checked out anyways. So we told the mother, look, we have to take her just to get checked out. About 2 or 3 days later, I was at the children's hospital where we had taken her to with the ambulance. And they told the nurse that attended her, said, no, all her blood work came back normal, and everything was fine. And the nurse started telling me, did she tell you about a friend named Minnie? Said, yeah. She says, well, let me tell you something. The doctors had from 1 second to the next, the doctors had an episode with her in the room where she became very violent and very strong, where they had to restrain her. I didn't get more into it. I didn't follow up more on it. But like I said, I've been a police officer for 22 years. And my partner even agreed with me that if we ever believed there was another person named Minnie, that this was it. It just, the whole circumstances, everything put together, just and to this day, I will never forget that call. If I drive by the neighborhood or in the area, that's all I think about is that call. So I guess my question is, and what kind of a situation, let's say that she was possessed by some other girl named Minnie, or something to that effect. What's that called? Is that called poltergeist? Is that called... Well,
it can be walk-in. It can be called a walk-in situation where, let's say, for example, she had been very sick, or she did do drugs, and that when she did, it left her open and susceptible to a walk-in, which is called a walk-in spirit, and which would try and struggle for her personality. And some people, when they have walk-in spirits, they never recover. So she could have a walk-in spirit in her. She could be possessed by some other spirit called Minnie. There have been rock stars like Nicki Minaj, for example, who say that she's possessed by a young boy named Roman. And there's also Beyonce Knowles saying that she has another character in her named Sasha Fierce, another personality that takes over when she's on stage. So, there are walk-ins, there are altars, all kinds of things. So, yeah, she could have that, too.
Let me tell you, the scary part about this is that my partner and I, we're not partners anymore. He's in K-9 now, but we talked about it a lot after that call, and we're like, you know what? Any other rookie officer that would have responded here, the moment that she raised her voice and said something about Minnie, would have probably restrained her or...
It would have been ugly. Hey, I'm out of time, Alex.
Alex. Her into Looney Tunes.
Thanks for the call, buddy. Great call. Thank you so much. Have a good night. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. Numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Ah, yes, talking about those haunted artifacts. Things buried in your closet that may be haunted, or things that are handed down from family, generation to generation, that may be haunted. Books. Who knows? Maybe even cars. Ouija boards. Come on, you got to have something in your house that collecting dust. They haunt you when you're sleeping. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We got Howard in Washington. Hi, Howard. You're on Ground Zero.
Hello, Clyde.
Hello.
Good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you.
You're talking about haunted artifacts tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever get a chance to see the old Jansen Beach amusement park over on Haven Island?
No, but wasn't the amusement park what they put in that mall on Jansen Beach?
That's right.
The carousel. They put the carousel in there, right?
Yes. I grew up, with that thing. At one time there was a giant wooden roller coaster there. There was a huge outdoor swimming pool. It was a beautiful place. Really hated to see it go. But they closed it up and tore it down in 1872 and built a shopping mall right on those grounds. And when they did so, they kept that old carousel. Now, the significance of that carousel was that when they opened that park in 1927, that carousel was one of their crown jewels. It was the carousel that was featured at the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. So it was one of the very first of its kind, and it genuinely was a work of art. The wooden horses on that were hand-carved and painted in Belgium and imported here. It really was a beautiful thing. And so they restored it, and they put it in the mall. And it was about that period of time. This was in the early 70s, and I hadn't been out of the Army too long, so I was looking for work all over, and I got a job with a janitorial company out of Portland, and they had contracts in that mall. And so I went to work in there, and after a few months, I got pretty familiar with the place. And there were several guys on the crew there that wouldn't go near that carousel. They were afraid of it. What was going on is it would just without any warning, it would start up in the middle of the night, start running, and it just was infrequent. It didn't happen very many times. I saw it happen once, but the history of the thing, you consider all the people that had ridden that. I remember there was an old security guard there that when it did that, he had to go set it off. And to set it off, you had to unlock the control panel on it, and at that time it still had the old-fashioned Frankenstein switches on it, and the one that for the drive motor would be found, you always find it up. And you have to yank it down and get the thing shut off. And it seemed to me like it was almost impossible for that to happen just spontaneously, by coincidence. But I guess what I really wanted to put out there tonight was that they built a second mall there. They tore down the first one and built a second one, and they moved that carousel into that one. They even had a special area for it, and that has since been torn down, and the carousel disappeared. And the Oregon Historical Society has been looking for it, and they've been trying to contact the developer. I guess it's a California-based developer that came in there and bought all of that. They're trying to locate it, and he won't cooperate. Won't tell them where it's at. And they're kind of afraid that he might have trashed it. And I just thought I'd put out to anyone that's listening that might have any knowledge of, or seen it, or has any knowledge of where it might be, to contact the Oregon Historical Society.
I can't believe it. Something that big would go missing.
Yeah, they either trashed it or it has to be in a warehouse or something. Maybe they didn't have, they weren't from the area. They probably didn't have any idea what it was or its historical significance. But whoever has it has more on their hands than they know.
Well, I don't know where you would hide something like that, though. That's the thing.
Well, it could probably be dismantled. I'm sure they had to dismantle it to move it from building to building like that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. They'd really like to know where it's at. Yeah.
It's amazing that, like I said, something that big would be hiding somewhere and no one can find it.
Yeah, it was big. It had to be, as I remember, it had to be at least 40 feet in diameter, maybe bigger. It was a big thing, but it was beautiful. And like I said,
so that they didn't put the carousel in the new store or in the new mall.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
But right now, you see, they tore the second mall down, and right now there are just small businesses and small buildings in there.
Because I remember when I lived out in Kenton, I took Liam on that carousel several times. We used to ride the train. We were out there, right there by the train stop, near the Paul Bunyan and the Dancing Bear, and we'd ride the train out there all the time so he could ride that carousel in Jansen Beach.
Yeah, I rode that thing when I was a little tiny kid. It's one of my earliest memories. It was there a long time.
Wow.
But it goes all the way back to 1904. So that had some, like I say, that thing would, every once in a while, the thing would turn itself on in the middle of the night all by itself when there was no one around.
I think carousels are kind of scary.
Well,
they're like clowns. It's like they're these wooden horses, and the horses look pretty evil. And at night, if you've ever walked through a carnival at night without the lights on, it can be a little unnerving. And I can just imagine if they turned an amusement park into a haunted amusement park and left the lights out, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, you see the carousel turn on. That would freak people out.
Yeah, when you see that thing running by itself and in the dark, there wasn't much light in that building at night. We were on graveyard shift, and maybe just the lights of the neon signs and some of the shops and stuff like that. But you see that thing spinning fast all by itself in there, and nobody's been around it. That's a little unsettling.
Yeah, it does sound unsettling. It's like that clown thing. It's like clowns in their element are not scary. Put them out of their element, they're scary. If people are having fun at an amusement park and the carousel's going, the roller coaster's going, that's great. But if the amusement park's been shut down for years and all of a sudden you see that thing turn on, there was a place like that in Liberty Park in Utah where they had a carousel that was shut down for some time and it turned on by itself for some reason. And it was really creepy to see it come on at night. And the police didn't know how it turned on. They figured vandals did it or something. But in the meantime, pretty creepy stuff.
Yeah, the old guy at that was a security guard there he was just saying, they just wanted to ride it again.
Yeah.
No big deal. Don't worry about it.
Very creepy story. Hey, thank you for the call. I really appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye. You too. Good night. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. More Ground Zero to come. Don't go away. All right, let's go to Chris, calling in from Virginia tonight. Hi, Chris. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. How you doing?
Doing great, man.
Long-time listener, got put on by a buddy of mine, Michael Brown. Awesome guy. Great fan of the show. Got a question for you. I'd like to get your input.
Okay.
Do you believe, I lost my father in 2009. Do you believe that when your close someone and they pass on, they could take your illness with them.
Take your illness with them.
Mm-hmm. To the other side, like, my father, he passed on, and I had real bad anxiety, but after he passed, my anxiety was completely gone.
I would say that the anxiety, he probably didn't take it with you. What probably happened is when he passed, he probably found a way to calm you. I don't know if they take diseases with them, but I think sometimes, they take on, they may take on the ability to comfort, come to you in times of pain, give you strength. And it's like I was telling Liam when my dad passed away. Liam, I had to explain to him that maybe Papa Clyde now would be a guardian angel for you. Liam, he's young and he's having struggles with beliefs in God. He doesn't know if he believes in God. He thinks a lot of it's made up. I don't know where he gets that from. Certainly not his mother, certainly not from me, but he's a free spirit. And so I think he's agnostic at 10 years old, which I find interesting. But he does, however, have a respect for the possibility of the afterlife. He has a respect for the possibility of God and everything. But he certainly has his crisis in faith. But when my father passed away, he did say at the funeral, he was able to speak, and he said, I've only known my papa for 5 years. He says, but I loved him and I miss him, and he's in a better place. So he literally said something to the effect that he felt that my father was in a better place. And then when we were talking about, where he'd be, we said he'd be in your heart and he'd be like a guardian angel for you, because he knows you really loved him. So it's the possibility that when your father passed away, he knew of your anxiety and is probably there to give you that calming effect and that love and that feeling of warmth to let you know that, he is there and there is something beyond this life and that he is looking out for you.
Exactly. And, a funny thing is, you were talking about haunted artifacts and everything.
Yeah.
Well, my father passed away in 2009, 6 years ago, and his bedroom had been shut up until a month ago. I opened the old relic up, and it's now my room.
Mm-hmm.
But since I've opened it up, we have had a lot of strange things happening in the house, such as banging, sound like a bowling ball rolling across the floor. My mom was seeing shadows go through the hallway, and she was 1,000% not a believer in any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But now she is.
Are you keeping a diary of this type of material, type of this activity that's going on?
Well, it's not an extreme amount, so I haven't really kept a diary yet, but I can recall everything in the past 2 or 3 weeks that she has said.
Well, what you need to do now is you need to find a way to create a diary and to record times and everything when it happens. That way you can determine what's going on. And then once you figure out the pattern, maybe it'd be time to call out and ask if there is a spirit in the room, if it is your dad, and if it is, what is it that he wants to tell you? Because, here's the thing. Where I live right now, my whole neighborhood was fought right here at the Battle of Cold Harbor, Civil War battle. And these houses here were all for the military. So I want to do a lot more research to see if maybe the land around here could also be haunted, because people have reported hearing foot hooves, clunk, 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 running up and down the road, and all hours of the night. Well, battle areas are heavily haunted, and and that's another thing too. One of the things that is interesting, and I've been on ghost hunts like this, is you go into a place where you're thinking that you're going to get the ghost of something. Like, for example, we can only assume that the ghost that's happening right now would be your father, because it's your father's room. But it could be somebody else entirely. I mean, we went and did an investigation over in Fat City. And while we were investigating the possibility that the place was being haunted by a woman named Vivian who was shot by a jilted lover and was found dead in the basement, truth is, there was another ghost there. And believe it or not, she revealed to us that she was the wife of Humphrey Bogart. And we're all like shaking our heads going, you got to be kidding me. The wife of Humphrey Bogart. Come to find out that the wife of Humphrey Bogart, who was his wife before he met Lauren Bacall, drank herself to death in the attic of the place where we were doing the investigation there at Fat City, which was a restaurant. Above it was a flop house. And in that flop house, Humphrey Bogart's wife committed suicide by drinking herself to death.
Wow, that is crazy. So do you believe that we were somewhere before we took on a human capsule, or to say, for our spirit to live in?
Well, I think if you believe what is read in the Psalms and also in the Corinthians, I think that if the Bible says something about God knowing you before you were in the belly, or being known before you were in the belly, and that's something I think, I was once told in a prayer. It was a prayer that prayer blessing I had when I was sick, and it was something that I got because, when you're sick and you have cancer, you know where you're going to die. And one of the things I was told was, I need to remain alive because I not only have people on the other side rooting for me, but people on the other side that haven't even been born yet rooting for me. And that, to me, said something, because it's just the idea that the world that is the other side has those who have passed away and those who are yet to come. That it's some dimension that we cross into through the veil, and then we occupy this world in bodies such as we do, and we leave bodies behind, our containers behind, and become something more. And as Janine says, we all go back to the source. We all go back to where we began, and perhaps we have a choice to do it all over again. Who knows? I don't know. But that's a whole new world, whole new show, and I really thank you for calling tonight, Chris.
Yes, sir. God bless.
God bless you, too. And that's the show for tonight on Ground Zero. Join us tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll have another great show for you. We certainly will try. Because you make it happen. Keep us up all night, keeping it lit and keeping us happy right here at Ground Zero. We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care.